Every year, about 2,600 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 59 to 69, register for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample. If you need follow-up tests, we'll let you know. Register today at bowelscreen.ie or free phone 1800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show here in Highland Radio. It's just approaching 6 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday. It's the 4th of February, 2025. And I do hope you're very well, and it's great to have you on board for the next 3 hours, as I mentioned. And we've lots coming up on the show. The usual mix of news, views and opinions, community Garda information coming up for you just after 10 o'clock. That and so much more besides. We want you involved in the conversation throughout. So maybe there's something that happened over the weekend that you believe we should be talking about, or we can assist you with. The lines are open for you now. WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. If you prefer, you can give us a call on 07491 25,000. And also we're on email, comments at highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show, you can do so on our live stream. It's on the YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. So you can watch on your mobile devices, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick there as well. If you prefer, you can watch us on Facebook, Highland Radio News, Sport and Obituaries, or Highland Hub. We're on the X platform, and we're also streaming on the Watch Live click link on our website. How was your longer weekend? I know for some, because I was lucky enough to get out for a while on Sunday evening, people flat out working, and we often talk about, you know, the long weekends, or the bank holiday weekends, or the public holiday weekends, and there's so many people working hospitality and keep those cogs moving. They're just probably saying, thank God that's over now, and this is their time to relax, where the rest of us are just getting going with the week's work. But anyway, hopefully whatever you were doing at the weekend, and even if you did nothing, hopefully it was a joy for you, and things went well. Let's have a look at what's making some of the newspapers today. We'll start with the Irish Times. And Donald Trump, you can't say that he's sat on his hands since he took over as President of the United States, can you? He is flat out. US President Donald Trump's agreed a 30-day pause in threatened US tariffs after Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised more cooperation on border security. Speaking after a call with US President, Mr. Trudeau said Canada is implementing $1.3 billion border plan to combat organised crime, fentanyl smuggling and money laundering. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together, he said. So you might say, well, what's Trump doing over there? He's getting stuff done. You can't deny it. You might not like him. You might not think he's the best person for the job or whatever it is because of his personality. But, you know, one of the biggest concerns and one of the biggest voting reasons in the run-up to the election was border security, illegal immigration, drugs. And now, in a couple of weeks, he's got Canada sending $1 billion to the border to stop the spread of drugs and all that kind of stuff. And he's got Mexico sending 10,000 troops to the border to reduce illegal immigration and drug trafficking, particularly that awful drug which we never want to see anywhere, fentanyl, I beg your pardon, which if you've seen those images of people in certain states in America, they're just like zombies. It is a horrendous drug, as all drugs are, but that one in particular. But what does he want from Europe? Because Europe's in his sights now. Canada and Mexico had to deal with him. He hasn't gone too tough on China, but certainly Europe is in his sights. So what will he look from us? The Irish Independent, many would feel that common sense has prevailed. Many people I've spoken to in the public as well, and I've tried to get this point across to elected representatives who thought, you know, obviously the key issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis are incredibly important, but this was top of the list to get this resolved, and then let's deal with other stuff. That's the impression I was getting out and about. But Cam Corla, Verona Murphy has ruled that the regional independent group supporting Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in government will not be afforded opposition speaking rights in the Dáil. Efforts to appoint Micheál Martin as a Taoiseach 2 weeks ago were delayed by a day after opposition parties disrupted proceedings in protest over the speaking time dispute. Miss Murphy's decision comes before a Dáil Reform Committee meeting today. The ruling now means that the group, spearheaded by independent Tipperary TD Michael Lowry, will not be granted status as a technical group to be granted opposition speaking time. Miss Murphy said the key decision for her as Cam Corla, whether the prospective regional technical group are in fact members in opposition as required by Standing Order 170. I'm not satisfied that deputies Lowry, Gillian, Toole, Barry, Henahan and Danny Healy-Ray are members in opposition as required by Standing Order 170. So, in other words, putting an end to the notion that you could run with the hare and hunt with the hound. Now, do you remember the story going back to the Women's World Cup where the head of the FA over there effectively forcefully kissed Luis Rubiales is his name. He seemed to grab a player behind the head and impose a kiss on her lips. Well, that never went away, and it's actually up in court at the moment, believe it or not. And many people would say, yes, it should be, and others would be saying, what? Well, Spanish soccer star Jenny Hermosa, who was the recipient of that forced kiss, says that an unwanted kiss after she had won the World Cup had tainted one of the happiest days of her life. The striker, 34, said ex-Spanish FA president Luis Rubiales had abused her as a woman by kissing her on the lips without her consent after her team's 1-0 win over England in Australia in August 23. And she told a court in Madrid yesterday how she had been reduced to tears after accusing Rubiales, 47, and his aides of trying to pressure her into diffusing the backlash it triggered. So that's all coming out in court at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that to see what the court's determination is, and if he's found guilty, what punishment he would face. You'll remember the image of, as I say, he had the two hands on. It's not something you would ever do in real life, right? So I suppose. How could you be expected to get away with it in front of the world's eyes? The Irish Daily Star today, the heartbroken girlfriend of a Donegal man fighting for his life after being attacked by 5 men has pleaded for prayers for him, saying he has a long road ahead. Charles Dooher was beaten by 5 masked men armed with iron batons at his home on the Cunniborough Road in Lifford on January 20th. Well, his girlfriend Charlotte Gallen and his loving family have been at his bedside at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast ever since the horrific attack. It's understood Charles, who's in his 20s, suffered brutal head injuries during the attack, which happened at 10:30am in broad daylight and has been the subject now of a number of Garda appeals. There have been arrests made in Northern Ireland. Devastated, Charlotte pleaded with the public for their prayers. She said, can everyone keep Charles Dooher in their thoughts and prayers as he's still fighting the fight of his life with a long road ahead, a best friend, a godfather and a role model to anyone who knew him. Charles's loving mother, Anne-Marie, also pleaded for similar prayers in another recent post on social media. So it's well covered. You may well have seen that on your own socials, but I thought I'd mention it in case it's you can do it as they're all requesting. The Mirror tells us that the number of young women in Ireland being diagnosed with breast cancer is worryingly increasing, a report revealed yesterday. In 2013, 677 women aged 20 to 49 were found to have the disease. 9 years later, in 2022, this total had climbed to 853 patients, and this represents an increase in incidence rate within this younger cohort from 67 per 100,000 to 79 per 100,000. And that terminology perhaps would have went over our head, but I think when we were talking about instances per 100,000, we kind of got a sharp education in relation to that during COVID, you might remember. Well, Breast Cancer Ireland has launched its first social impact report today to mark World Cancer Day. So hopefully maybe more women are noticing their the changes in the body or what have you, and maybe that can account for some of the increases, but still worrying nonetheless. It's very important that we get to know our bodies and check for any changes and not put it down to something else, and get help where it's needed or get checked over when needed. Right, now, on a much lighter note, in the Sun, a pub was forced to give out 300 pints after promising punters a free one for every goal Nottingham Forest scored. Well, Forest scored 7 in the end. They beat Brighton 7-0. The Gedling Inn ran the promotion ahead of Saturday's televised game, and amid predictions it would be a close affair. But the visitors were put to the sword as rampant Forest ran riot to the delight of the boozers' thirsty regulars. They scored 3 in the first half and 4 in the second as the bar staff were run off their feet. So 7 free points. I think I'd have to start turning them down after 3. But anyway, but great PR for that pub. You know, you might think, oh, they've had to give out an awful lot of pints. But the PR they've had since makes it all worthwhile, I'm sure. All right, our first guest on the 9 till noon show coming on very shortly.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
You can have it all in 2025 with the new Nissan Qashqai with e-Power. Relaxation and excitement, spacious and sleek, safe, smooth, serene, and thrilling, adventurous, and of course efficient. Make 2025 a hybrid year with the new Nissan Qashqai with e-Power. Hybrid driving reinvented. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
You can't predict a minor injury or illness, but you can be sure of Ophidia Letterkenny's MIU walk-in service. Our priority is to see all patients within 1 hour, from minor illnesses to cuts and breaks, sports and limb injuries to minor burns. Ophidia Letterkenny MIU, located in Scally Place. Accidents don't wait for an appointment, neither should you.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, well, the time now is 9:17. You're very welcome back to the programme, and welcoming onto it now is Deputy Pádraig Mac Lochlainn, Sinn Féin Chief Whip. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, we got this ruling from the Camp Corla, Verona Murphy, yesterday evening. I said earlier on, is it a case of common sense prevailing?
Yeah, Greg, it was a welcome statement last night. And, I mean, if you look at the Standing Order 170 that deals with groups, it clearly states a group in opposition. So this was, a political stroke, frankly. I mean, we had a situation where you had Michael Lowry and 7 independents standing on the plinth just outside Leinster House and saying that we will support the government in the good days and the bad, and boasting about what they had achieved, and they'll be inside government. And you had other statements from other independents in the same light. So it was an extraordinary situation we found ourselves in. And then one of the people I'm most critical of is Micheál Martin, because he sat this whole thing out. And last Friday there was a meeting in Leinster House, and the government had actually gone backwards, had doubled down on backing Michael Lowry, and we'd appealed to Micheál Martin to meet with the leaders of the opposition. A letter was written from the 5 leaders of the opposition, and he just hid away, pretended that nothing was happening, and was going to abandon the Can Corla to this mess again. So it's a welcome statement.
Yeah, but is this not actually democracy in action? You know, people might say, well, the scenes we saw last week or the week before, that was democracy in action. But this had to play out. This is something that needed clarity, because lots of people, rightly or wrongly, were quoting the likes of the Gregory deal or this, that and that. Like, isn't it better that we took the time now and we got this right? And that did require, the government digging their feet in as well so that we could get a definitive answer once and for all.
Well, it really was a political stroke, Greg, because if you look at the programme for government, it clearly states that this is Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and independents. you have 5 independent ministers in this government. Now, if you look at the Green Party the last time, it's Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens. The Greens had 12 TDs. Half of them were ministers. Half of them were backbenchers. Not for a minute did they think they would come over to the opposition and take leaders' questions, take committee decisions. Like, this was a brazen grab for rights from the opposition. So you're going to sit in government and opposition at the same time, and it was unheard of.
Why was the proposal for the extension of leaders' questions? So, in other words, opposition time wouldn't be squeezed. Why was that unacceptable?
Because we just couldn't tolerate a situation where Michael Lowry would stand up and ask leaders questions at the same time as Mary Lou McDonald, Ivana Bacik, or Richard Boyd Barrett, or Michael Collins, who's a genuine opposition TD and an independent. It would make an absolute farce of the Dáil. And I think, we had overwhelming support of the Irish people across the country because they could see that this was, sorry to say it again, it was a political stroke. And the Can Corner was abandoned. And repeatedly we'd asked Micheál Martin. And what happened with Micheál Martin was the only thing he was interested in, clearly, was a government that would be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Michael Lowry and the independents around him. That's all he was interested in. He pulled this deal together. And then he just let Michael Lowry do whatever he wanted. It was brazen stuff. I mean, I could not believe that we were facing serious upheaval again this week in the Dáil, and he just hid away over the weekend, didn't respond to the letter from the Leaders' Opposition, their appeal to sit down. Let's have some common sense here, work something out. I mean, basically, Michael Lowry and those government TDs, they are government TDs, should get their speaking time from the government side, get their committee positions from the government side, the same as the Green Party the last time, because they're the same. They're government TDs, full stop.
All right. Have you any theory as to why the government was prepared to go so far in backing Michael Lowry and his team in relation to this, a peculiar potential hill to die on?
Yeah, I mean, I've been pulling my hair out, particularly last week, because I'm the person in the committees trying to resolve this, and it was like I was living in a parallel universe, some of the stuff the government TDs, I called it Alice in Wonderland language, and I'd ask the question then, what power does this one independent team, Michael Lowry, have over this government that they would allow this to happen, they would allow this farce to continue? I just could not get my head around, why this was the ditch they were going to die on, they were going to make this stand. And by the way, it's still not resolved, would you believe, because today there's a committee, it's called the Standing Orders and Dáil Reform Committee, and the government could bring in an amendment to standing orders that gives these guys speaking time in the opposition. That's what they planned to do last Friday. They may well go ahead with that today. So and everybody's asking, what power does Michael Lowry have over this government? I've never seen anything like it in all my time in politics.
And I must ask, why has Sinn Féin so quickly, sought a judicial review of this decision or taken it to the courts, and not on an issue like defective concrete blocks, which many people would like to see a judicial review of or brought to the courts? Why has the party acted so quickly on this issue, and yet we see nothing along the same lines on the biggest issue facing Donegal at the moment, some would argue?
Well, my understanding is the judicial review would be of the standard IS 465. That is being reviewed. And indeed, very soon, an amended IS 465 will come through. So you can't take a judicial review about something that's already happening. And in terms of the overall matter, I mean, unfortunately, in terms of 100% redress, you have a scenario where over 2,000 families who are directly affected have taken a case under Coleman Legal, and I support that. I support that because people haven't got 100% redress, they haven't got justice, they haven't been treated the same as families in Leinster and Dublin where they got 100% redress under the Pyrite scheme. So the initiatives that have been taken by those who are directly affected, I support that. It's a pity they have to do it. But it seems that this government, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, are not for turning. But we'll
All
keep
right.
fighting and keep taking them on.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much for that. That's Deputy Pádraig Mac Lochlainn, Sinn Féin Chief Whip there. 086 60 25,000 if you have a view. Dear Greg, would you like to highlight an issue for me? I would like you to highlight an issue for me, no problem. My little boy was visiting family on Sunday. He went to the shop after dinner to get ice cream. On his way home, he ran into one of the metal Christmas trees that are in this village. We ended up in Nowdock and were then referred on to the hospital. His mouth bore the brunt of the impact. He broke his front tooth, cut the inside of his lower lip, and has a cut on his chin. I'd like you to highlight the issue as it's now February and they're still out. They're really dangerous at night as you don't see them clearly in the dark. And those are Christmas trees metal Christmas trees, the listener says, in Carragart. And they're saying that you can't see them in the dark. It's the start of February and they need to be taken down now as that child ran into them and suffered really quite unpleasant injuries. Okay, more than happy to highlight that. Right, we'll be back with our next guest on the show after a short break.
We all want to keep children safe online. Webwise works to support young people, parents and teachers. Get involved in Safer Internet Day this February the 11th. Visit webwise.ie for helpful guides, talking points, free resources on image sharing, gaming, social media and more. Brought to you by Webwise and Cumishún na Meán.
Something extraordinary is happening across Ireland. First-class rivals are being forged as first-class teammates. Inter-county foes as friends, and old opponents are choosing to have each other's backs. Top club and county players lining out in college and university jerseys to play, challenge, and win together. Electric Ireland is proud to sponsor the Camogie Third Level Championships.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
The Renault Symbioz E-Tech Full Hybrid is a study in balance in an all-new family compact SUV, much like a symphony. The solar-based sunroof illuminates or darkens, and the smart infotainment system has Google built in. It's a soaring crescendo of a family hybrid. The new Renault Symbioz from 0% APR or €1,500 trade-in bonus. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. T's and C's apply. MFS, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See Renault.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We're joined on it now, and he can't see me because I have a slight issue with my camera, but I will resolve it in a moment, by Councillor Pádraig McGowan. Good morning to you, Patrick. Thank you so much for your time. Pádraig McGowan, can you hear me? Oh, no, okay. Well, the problem's run a little bit deeper there. We'll try and sort that out in a moment. So we'll put him away and then come back to him in a second. Whilst I'm doing that, Trump isn't getting stuff done, says a caller. He's given the illusion of getting stuff done while claiming credit for things that are already happening. If you actually pay attention to the concessions he gets from these huffs, it's all stuff that was going to happen or is already happening. He just makes a big show of it to make it look like it's thanks to him. It's a bluster and a con that relies on people not being properly informed on literally anything, political or geopolitical. I'm not saying I'm an expert in these regards, but at the end of the day, he quite literally has got stuff done as it relates to the northern and southern border. I mean, that's very hard surely to counter argue. All right, Pádraig McGowan, can you hear me now, I wonder? No, I can't hear you and you can't hear me. Okay, that's something we're going to have to come back to in a moment. We're going to be talking about littering. We're going to be talking about littering in Ballabafay, Stranora, the Lifford, Stranora Municipal District. But unfortunately, Patrick can't hear me, and I don't believe it's my fault. So we'll have to come back to that in a sec. Caroline can chase him up to see what the crack is there. Greg, I was listening this morning to news about housing. I called Donegal County Council 4 weeks ago offering a house I had under a 10-year lease. I didn't receive a call back. I called again trying to get information on how it works and if anyone could help me. So after 4 weeks of trying, I just rented it out privately. Okay, a little bit frustrating that, to say the least, but I don't know if there's provision for the council to take on sort of property in that way either. That's just something I don't know enough about to comment on. Another caller here says, just to mention actually, Strabane Diabetic Group will hold its next meeting on Wednesday the 5th of February at 8 p.m. It's in the Fir Trees Hotel in Strabane, and I'm told to let you know that everybody is welcome. Right, Greg, I'm an electrician apprentice or an electrical apprentice. I have 4 years and 2 months done, and I'm not going to get my next call to college till September, so I won't be qualified till next year, which is well over 5 years. It's a complete joke, they say. Okay, it sounds like an awful long wait. All right, sorry about that, Councillor McGowan. Just some slight technical issues we're working through. And you're highlighting the issue of littering and what seems to be an increase in littering in your municipal district. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, well, it's just not in my municipal district. This comes up at council meetings. I have raised it myself several times. And it's only just about 2 weeks ago we were organising our local clean-up now for the 22nd of March, and that would be in Balfay. But every year it's the same amount. Some would say it's actually increasing. And the comment I made at our MD meeting, and actually made at the full council meeting, after about 25 years of us organising the green schools, I'm asking, have we progressed any at all over the last 25 years? Because if you could take it that the young people at that stage, were in their 9 to 11, 12, whatever. They're all young adults now and older and married, but the amount of litter that's been discarded is unbelievable. You just have to look at the roads now, at the road edges. Now at the there's no vegetation there. That's every road. If you go even from Lifford to Letterkenny, the roundabouts there, Balfay to Lifford, all the side roads are forestry roads or quiet roads. Despite the amount of people that are out lifting and these annual organised clean-ups, people are complaining all the time. There still seems to be an awful lot of litter thrown there. And as I say, the bottle recycling in cans has been a massive success. But I'm asking the council as a time to review the whole way that we do this litter awareness around schools and that. And it comes at a time as well. We don't have actually a litter awareness officer anymore. That position is now vacant for nearly a year. But I'm saying it's an opportunity to revisit everything and redo it, because the Green Schools Initiative kind of evolved over the years as well. It came into more diversity and a lot of other things. But it's sort of a case of maybe back to basics, because a lot of people are still littering now as much as they were 20, 25 years ago. Some would argue maybe more so.
And, it's peculiar that we're seeing an increase when, as you quite mentioned, we've got the recycling scheme. You'd be expecting to see it go the other way.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that's been massive successful. But I look at roads about walking on myself. I still see these drink bottles there, these Boost bottles and different things. And there is no excuse now that you even see whiskey bottles and different kind of bottles thrown there, as well as all the other. A lot of the stuff there would be takeaway kind of gear that maybe was bought in a local cafe or shop, and approximately about a kilometre away then, when the thing is eaten, it's discarded, and it's just, people are still dumping. You also have the illegal dumping, and say that domestic rubbish, bags of rubbish here and there, and that's another thing. I would welcome sometime maybe if all recycling was free in a recycling centre, but at the moment it's still to get the two labels is about between 10 and 12 euros. And you have a choice. You can pay by weight, or you can pay as you go. And that was one thing we fought very, very hard for, to keep that bit of competition there. So it hasn't gone up that much in the last 10 years. It's still around 10, 12 euros. And 1 month, or you can put out your recycling. Next one, you can put out your blue or green bin. So it's not just that, like, but there is a cohort of people out there that obviously just don't care, simply don't care whether throwing it out.
So how
at
do
night
you
and
reach
a lot of
them?
stuff.
And I mean, and I know you talk about education and school and all that type of stuff, and hey, anything we should be doing anything we actually can. But I mean, like, how do you change the mindset of someone that's prepared just to roll down the window and chuck something out of their vehicle? I mean, is it time to have vehicle? I mean, even if you had, I suppose, a mobile vehicle trying to spot this, you probably wouldn't, because these people do it at night. I haven't seen for a long time someone actively throw something out of the window, so they're doing it covertly, I imagine.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I don't think I've ever seen anybody doing it either. Like, but and bags at night, and you go up some lovely quiet roads through forests and places like that when you're out walking. You just come on 2 or 3 small bags of rubbish that was someone throw up there on purpose, and then but you say at night, just people just driving along. That's why I said to the country, it's kind of a bit crazy to keep doing the same thing for 20 years. Look, there's no doubt there's benefits out of it, and there's a lot more than just about litter awareness. This whole biodiversity and all has been taught now in schools very much, and maybe that's actually replaced the whole awareness about litter. But I think that the council, the environment, SBC within the council and I have been asking for this for a number of years at full meetings. I mean, we need to go back to the drawing board, look how we're doing it, look at the results. Of course, go into the schools and talk to the teachers, and to the students, of course, as well, to the young people, and see what their opinion would be or how we can stop it. Like, because it's the same people probably that are throwing it out, and unfortunately, it's the same people year after year, month after, are going out plating around their side roads, lifting it and lifting it.
I think you've made the point as well, but it's a decent question. Like, what would the roads be like if it weren't for the amazing people that work in the communities? They're out at the crack of dawn or out giving up their weekends for big cleanups. I mean, the place would be a tip.
It really would be. You go on holidays there times to Spain now. I always find Spain to be a very dirty country as well now. I know that's also holidaymakers make it like you go down certain streets and that, the amount of litter, but if there's any empty sites or discarded sites, you see it blown onto the site. I find it quite bad now at times, all right, but here in Ireland, like, it's just not acceptable. I know people in other countries would be horrified. It's just, I'm not sure it's a civic responsibility, maybe that type of thing. It's not coming back. And this then can lead on to just discard, like when you don't think much of your environment like that, it can cost nothing. What I'd say, we've come through a lot of problems in a number of years, and recessions and COVID and all sorts of issues that we talk about every day on the radio. But it costs nothing not to do this. This would have a major benefit for the whole country and from tourism, because tourists driving along do see the litter. Like, it's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible. And it is time that we in the council and whoever else in task are supposed to be involved there as well, that we just go out and review it and maybe try to understand why it's still happening, and then try and bring in new measures, whatever that is, because there's no doubt we are spending money to try and keep the place litter free. So it'll be money well spent if we can try, but I think we need to just go out again to the schools and talk to them and see what we can be done.
All right, thanks very much indeed. And that's not because what's happening is happening by people in schools. It's trying to reach the next generation to break the link, isn't it? Because you've pointed out in your view that littering's worse now than it was 20 years ago. All right, Councillor Pádraig McGowan, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. So do you see an increase in littering in your area? What do you believe the cause is? And, what do you think we should be doing to try and discourage it? Bigger fines or any fines obviously would help, but you have to catch people in the act of tipping stuff out of their window. And you see it, the regular places. Like on my journeys, depending on which direction I'm coming from, often you see the same type of litter in the same place. So you've got people who are dumping in their own community, because you can't say it's from people from outside the area, for an example, in the cases that I'm talking of. And they get their takeaway or whatever, and you can see it takes them about the same amount of time to eat, or else they find an opportune place to dump it, and they just dump it on the side of the road, and you see the same type of packaging in the same place. I mean, how do you get through to someone like that there? But we'll open it up to the hive mind of the Northwest and the great 9 till noon family. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Do you believe littering is worse now than it was 20 years ago? And do you have any idea as to what we could do to try and limit it? I think more education is always key, but that's for the next generation, isn't it? Right, this came in over the weekend, by the way, and it's a mum who's kind of at her wit's end. And I want you to have a listen to this as well, please, and be very interested in what you have to say. I am the mother to a young nurse in Letterkenny University Hospital who's come home tonight in tears again after working a 13-hour shift under immense pressure, in charge of too many patients that's deemed inappropriate due to staff shortages, and having to face unhappy families that are not getting the service that should be sufficient, again due to staff shortages. I understand the family's frustrations, but if they could also remember this nurse, my child, is only human and can only do what she's physically able to do with the resources that she has available to her. And might I add, she's a great worker with a fantastic work ethic who went into this job as she loves to help people and is so kind, but also a tough wee cookie. But I can see it breaking her each evening. She comes home and finding it difficult to find the words of encouragement to tell her how it's going to get better. So for anyone visiting the hospital with their loved ones who are sick, I know your frustration. I've been there too. Think twice before you take it out on that one nurse. Remember, there is a wee person behind that uniform who chose to look after your family members, but she didn't choose these working conditions, and she also has feelings. And yet tomorrow, she'll go and face it all over again. Thank you from a very worried mummy. So there you have it. That's a mum who's seeing her daughter coming home after 13-hour shifts in tears. She's already working in tough conditions, as we know. She's understaffed, and mum understands that families are there under difficult circumstances often and are frustrated. But this mum's sort of saying, can you understand that this is my daughter? This is just a woman as well, and that it's making her job incredibly difficult if you get frustrated with her. Just to think twice about it is what she's saying, that she can't help it individually. She's also a symptom of the problem in that she's overstretched at work, working really hard and coming home in tears. And we really don't want to lose people like that who are clearly doing it, obviously for the income, but for the love of it. Why would you do it otherwise unless you wanted to help other people? So what Mum's asking here is just to consider her feelings a little bit too, and I think that's fair enough. Hi, in regards to litter, I'm constantly onto the county council regarding emptying the bins in and around Lifford. They go days without being emptied. Yeah, well, maybe that's part of it too. The problem is, and I'm not putting this at the foot of the council, you know what happens when bins aren't getting emptied and they're overflowing? They end up getting removed because it's easier to not have them than it is to empty them. The issue is there are some great initiatives in national school, but it ends there. They should be the entire way through education. Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a lot of well-being stuff being taught in school. What about well-being in that, you know, you can be happier and more content in a better environment in your area? You know, something like that there. Maybe that's, they could tie it into school one way or other. Recently, I had to dispose of a mattress. I took it to the local recycling centre and it cost me €35 to dispose of the mattress. I'm not shocked that people dispose of waste illegally due to the cost of recycling. It's not fair when recycling is free in the north. Much recycling is free in the Republic as well. Mattresses, they're a problem, aren't they? But I do know the council at least did have days where you could recycle mattresses for free. I'm not sure if there's been one in recent times, but at the end of the day, I suppose if you change your bed, do you have somewhere to store the mattress? Maybe if everyone sort of had one mattress disposal each per year, something, because we're not chucking mattresses out left, right and centre, but maybe if every household was given one free mattress disposal, you know, would that equate to how much is disposed on these open days? Might make people feel like they're getting a bit more value for money. That's all I'm suggesting. How do these refuse company weigh bins? I've got bills every few months and they could charge you anything. Well, in anything relationship with a business, there has to be an element of trust. But it's lifted up. There's wee folks that come out and lift it up, and I presume it's at that point that it's weighed. Never mind litter, fix the road and sort out lighting, says the listener. Okay, our next guest joining us very shortly.
We move Ireland's energy. through one of Europe's most modern gas networks, delivering the energy you need today throughout the country. And now we're moving Ireland's energy in a new way, bringing more sustainable sources into the pipeline. Gas Networks Ireland, moving Ireland's energy.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 91 26688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Treat yourself this bank holiday with a can of your favourite Pringles, now half price. And stock up with refreshing Coke Zero and Diet Coke 18 can packs, now only €10. Plus, save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher could be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Prices subject to deposit return scheme fees.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Right, the weather forecast. Today will start off wet over much of the region with persistent rain, gradually clearing to the southeast by mid-morning. Sunshine and showers will follow. Some heavy falls of rain. Hail possible as well. Temperature 6 to 8 degrees. Now, that being said, this should be the last of the wet weather or damp weather we see after today. It's supposed to be dry and cool at night for the rest of the week, which sounds all right, doesn't it? Sean Gallagher joins us. He is a member of Defending Environmental Wealth Group. Good morning to you, Sean. Thanks for your time.
Good morning to you and your listeners, yes.
Now, yours is a view that's at odds to many people in this county because there's a big push on to try and allow people to build one-off housing on their own property, particularly along one of our main artery routes, the N56, but you're of a different point of view.
Yeah, well, the recent storm showed how difficult it is whenever utilities are harmed by strong winds, which is becoming more pervasive and will become more regular going into the future. So we have to look at this. Do we really want to put workers under pressure to get houses linked up again with the utilities? Should we not plan to be, for example, build cluster of houses, small villages, rather than have these ribbon-type one-off housing? And mostly the people who are building these one-off housing are not related to a real district. Most of them are working in the major towns nearby. So it would make much more sense going forward.
Arguably, Sean, this is really what the National Development Plan and effectively the County Development Plan is to sort of congregate people to make it more of an option to go to your local town rather than to build on your own property. But people want to be able to build in their own areas, and a lot of the people we're talking about are actually locals. You'll often hear anecdotal evidence that people from outside the area often can get planning before someone locally can to build on their own property. That's rural living, isn't it? That's rural life.
Yeah, I understand that, and that has been the way, but we have a new realities to face up to, and this is not just my idea, or, this has been talked about for years and years. Like the recent report given to the government was ignored by the minister, and agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Housing Planning, National Economic and Social Council, Areas Planning Institute, Antasca, just to name a few, all agreed that this has to be changed. This planning, spatial planning has to be changed to meet the new reality. Yeah, it's lovely to be able to live where you grew up and all the rest. But the people who are building houses, that's what they want to do. But the reality is, we haven't got spreading it out over a large area rather than clusters leaves them wide open to cut off. Maybe the house is still cut off for 12 days after the storm.
There's 1,250 houses and what have you. But Sean, is this not really, your attitude really symptomatic of maybe the national attitude? The reason the power is going off so extensively in rural Ireland is because of a generational lack of investment in infrastructure. If you did a heat map, say, for instance, of where ministers are located, and you place that map over where the power outages are, it's not where the ministers are. You know, we're constantly on the west coast and the northwest looking for further investment to bring us up to a level with the rest of the country. You know, why should we not build on our own land and draw power? When the government's allowing data centres to pop up all over the place, drawing alone more power than all of the urban areas put together. You know what I mean? Invest in rural areas and allow people to live where they want to live.
Yeah, well, I'm no friend of data centres, because that's only obliging large multinational companies. But the issue is, it's not. We have to agree. We have to work with what we have. My argument is, and the arguments of lots of people are that going forward, we have to look at the planning. We have to think of spreading houses over a wide area. It's going forward, and a climate crisis it's not good planning.
Talk to me about
the infrastructure there. Sorry, let me finish. The infrastructure there is not. It's old. It's not conducive to high winds. So the money has to be spent on that. No, nobody's saying that everybody has to move to the town. No, of course not. But the money has to be spent building up defence against these new weather patterns.
And why not spend the people who are paying that tax that contributes to that in rural areas where they want to live, pay to improve that infrastructure? Why should it be focused on urban areas? And Sean, you've answered that.
I'm not saying, sorry, you put words in my mouth. I'm not saying it should be focused. I'm saying it can. The planning pattern, spatial planning with one housing has got to be stopped. But that doesn't mean that the infrastructure already existing there cannot be
okay. What are the environmental negatives of one-off housing?
As I explained to the environmental, well, first of all, you have the issue of traffic, for example. I mean, if you're leaving Letterkenny, some mornings I leave Letterkenny and go head out towards Derry Road, and the traffic going into Letterkenny from that road in the morning is unbelievable, and obviously we have only the one bridge into the town.
But Sean, can I just point something out, if you don't mind? I'm not being argumentative. I think it's a very interesting conversation. But you've got into your car in Letterkenny, right? And you're heading off to Derry for a drive. And you're observing the fact that other people are having to drive to get into work in Letterkenny. I mean, there's a bit of an irony there, isn't it? Should you not be not driving at all then? If you're observing other people trying to get on with their lives driving and you're behind the wheel yourself.
Well, most of the time I take public transport, because I have a free bus pass, So it's only a very... whatever, maybe I have to transport something, I would take my vehicle. I use public transport whenever I can, but this is the irony of it. People who are working in the urban areas, like a larger urban area of Letterkenny, are commuting all the time, and yet in Letterkenny, and if you walk the main street, so many empty, derelict buildings which can be utilised.
Yeah, but Sean, I don't want to live in Letterkenny.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't want to live in Letterkenny. You don't. I mean, I can't tell you. I can't say to you, well, you should move to Dublin because, we'll even save even more money. Why should we even have Letterkenny? I don't want to live in Letterkenny. I want to live in my own house in the countryside.
Nobody is saying they have to live in Letterkenny, but I'm saying is we cannot go forward with the same spatial policy.
Well, then put in proper infrastructure. Put in a proper a bus service that actually gets people to work at an opportune time that reaches the entire county. Local Link does great work, but I agree
100%. I agree 100%. And on the public transport, there should be a train service from here to Derry, but instead of thinking and planning to put a train service from here to Derry, our engineering minds, etc., are deflected by building more road systems, etc. We have to keep it in our mind all the time. We're moving into an era where environmental and biodiversity is under attack by the previous way we've lived. So this is the new reality, and conversations like this, is necessary. So that's why I'm saying, and that's my point. My argument is we cannot keep building one-off housing on throughout the countryside because it's not feasible. We haven't got we have got extreme ones. The infrastructure is not. I'm not saying that some of the infrastructure is good, but isolated homes with small wooden poles carrying the cables that could come on the breaker.
I get what you're saying, right? But let's depopulate Cork then, because it's constantly getting flooded. Every time there's a high tide and a bit of a storm, Cork's getting flooded, and us, the taxpayer, which I'm not happy about, having to clean up the streets of Cork, having to compensate the shops. The low-lying levels of Galway is the same. Let's depopulate Cork. Yeah. Let's move everyone out of Cork because it's an awful strain on the government's, on the country's finances.
Yeah. Well,
let's shift out of Cork first, and then I'll shift out of the country.
People will have to move from the coastline, and move from areas which have been flooded every time there's a heavy rainfall. This is the reality of it, because the way we lived in this last 50 years, building up emissions CO2. But this is the new reality, and burying our head in the sand and not facing up to this is only kicking the can down the road, as the saying goes,
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, listen, I've very much enjoyed talking to you, Sean. It is a different point of view. Michael, if you can get your point across in 30 seconds, go ahead if you don't mind.
I think the ESB made millions in profits this last few years and spending none of it on infrastructure. That is my main point.
Yep.
They should be spending more on their infrastructure themselves. The people of rural Ireland are already paid.
So you're saying rather than depopulating rural Ireland or discouraging, I don't want to put words in Sean's mouth, so rather than discouraging one-off housing in these areas and talking about ESB outages, you believe it's down to a lack of investment in these areas?
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
All right, listen, thanks for that, Sean. Thanks for that, Michael. We'll be back with more shortly. Actually, just before we go to the break, I do have time for this comment. Why not stipulate that all one-off houses, rural houses, have to have a backup generator as part of planning? Oh, don't know why I snorted there. We have a PTO generator for farm, best investment we have. It is a very simple system to operate and means we're never without power. A small petrol generator is used for power tools on building sites, would be sufficient for a house. Not expensive, less than losing a freezer of food. Yeah, but I accept that living in more rural parts of the county that maybe you're not connected as quick as other parts. I do understand that power is probably less likely to go off in Letterkenny, maybe. Some would argue not, than it might be in Lahey or wherever. But that doesn't mean you want to move out of it. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. You can also give us a call, of course, on 074 91 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com. It is Tuesday's 9 till noon show, and we'll be back with more on it after we take a break now and get the very latest news, and we'll keep you updated too with the obituary notices.
An Advanced Healthcare Directive is a document which records your future healthcare decisions. including refusals and consents on treatment, surgery, medicines and resuscitation.
All adults, and particularly those using healthcare services, should make an advance healthcare directive
and give a copy to those who need to know.
For information on how to make your own advance healthcare directive, visit safeguardingireland.org. Protect your healthcare wishes from Safeguarding Ireland.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. The opposition says sense has prevailed following the Councorla's decision over speaking time in the Dáil. 4 regional independent TDs, including Michael Lowry, who helped form the programme for government, wanted to sit on the opposition benches. But Rona Murphy says she's not satisfied. These TDs are members of the opposition and they won't be allowed to speak as such. However, on today's 9 till noon show, Donegal TD Pádraig Mac Lochlainn, the Sinn Féin whip, says the government could still seek a change in standing orders. He says Michael Lowry seems to have some form of hold over the government.
What power does this one independent team, Michael Lowry, have over this government that they would allow this to happen? They would allow this farce to continue. I just could not get my head around, why this was the ditch they were going to die on. They were going to make this stand. And by the way, it's still not resolved, would you believe? Because today there's a committee. It's called the Standing Orders and Dáil Reform Committee, and the government could bring in an amendment to standing orders that gives these guys speaking time in the opposition. That's what they planned to do last Friday. They may well go ahead with that today.
East Derry MLA Caoimhe Archibald is the new Economy Minister at Stormont. Ms Archibald is being replaced in finance by her Sinn Féin colleague John O'Dowd, who in turn is being replaced as Infrastructure Minister by Liz Kimmins. In a statement this morning, Ms Kimmins has pledged to continue prioritising the major advances made by her predecessor, including moving forward with the A5 improvement scheme. The executive reshuffle was necessitated by the election to the Seanad of former Economy Minister Conor Murphy, who has now resigned his Assembly seat. Counting in the Seanad election concluded last evening, with Senators Niall Blaney and Eileen Flynn returning to the upper house, but no joy for first-time candidate Jimmy Kavanagh. With more, here's Tom Douglas.
Last evening, Independent Senator Eileen Flynn was the 4th candidate to reach the quota on the administrative panel. It's her first time to be elected to the upper house. In 2020, she narrowly failed to secure enough votes, but was subsequently nominated by Micheál Martin when he became Taoiseach. Having become the first member of the travelling community to join the Seanad in 2020, Senator Flynn is now the first member of that community to be elected in their own right. Over the weekend, Fianna Fáil Senator Niall Blaney held his seat on the agriculture panel, while Fine Gael councillor Jimmy Kavanagh fell short in his bid to secure a seat on the Labour panel. That panel was topped by Monaghan-based Senator Robbie Gallagher, a native of Termon.
An arrest has been made after 12 people had to be taken to hospital following a serious house fire in County Tyrone. Police rescued 4 people from the property in the Cunningham's Lane area of Dungannon last night, some of them children. Several police officers were treated for smoke inhalation. The cause of the fire is being investigated. Donegal County Council is being urged to take immediate action to secure a number of empty social houses in Culnaculla in Remelton, which are awaiting defective concrete block remediation. The issue was raised at a recent Letterkenny Milford MD meeting with Councillor Pádraig McGarvey, asking that safety fences be installed. Officials have promised to carry out a survey and site inspection to assess what safety measures are required. Councillor McGarvey says immediate action is necessary.
Housing Capital have assured us that they will be shovel ready when the scheme is announced, and I suppose carrying out surveys is very important in these houses that are severely affected by defective concrete blocks, and I think for the safety of the residents and the people in the estates, the council must act here and put in the safety measures in place to make sure that there's not any accidents here before the scheme comes to light.
SIPT was warning of potential strike action in the health sector if pay issues aren't addressed. It's balloting its 5,000 members who are working in Section 39 organisations. These are employees in private organisations contracted by the HSE to work in disability care, elder care and home support services. SIPT wants the government to honour a pay agreement struck at the Workplace Relations Commission in 2023. And breast cancer survival rates have increased from 73% to 88% since 2012. Breast Cancer Ireland says research, public awareness, diagnosis and treatment have all improved dramatically over the same period, with mortality rates falling by 2% each year. The figures were released to mark World Cancer Day. They say there is a worrying increase in the number of younger women being diagnosed, but the CEO of Breast Cancer Ireland, Aisling Hurley, says they're being detected early and treated early.
If you look statistically, we have 3,700 new cases of people diagnosed every year, and of that, 23% are under the age of 50. So that's women between sort of 20 and 50 years of age. And what we're trying to say to women is, and men, because obviously breast cancer does affect men, is that we need to be more breast aware. We need to know the signs and symptoms, and we need to check regularly.
Weather forecast, any lingering rain will clear eastwards with sunshine and showers following. Some of those showers heavy with a possibility of some hail. Top temperature 6 or 7 degrees Celsius with moderate to fresh gusty southwest winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. In the interim, check all of the latest news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 4th of February. The death has taken place of Enya Maria Celia McMurrough, Ardsbeg, Gortha Hork, aged 13 and a half years. Her remains will repose at the family home, which is strictly private, to family only, please. All are welcome to the funeral. The funeral mass will be held on Thursday at 1 o'clock in Chogpubble Creas 3, Gortha Hork, with interment afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Francie Kelly, Trusk, Ballabafay. Francie is reposing at his home. Requiem Mass in St Mary's, Sesha O'Neill, with burial afterwards in the please from 11 o'clock and before the funeral tomorrow. Flowers welcome, donations in lieu if desired, to the Patients Comfort Fund, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of McGowan's Funeral Home, Stranollar, or any family member. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the parish YouTube channel. And the death has taken place of Robert John Roy Beattie, Lord Donamore, Castle Finn. Remains leaving McClintock's funeral home in convoy this afternoon at 2 o'clock, going to St Patrick's Church, Donachmore, to repose overnight. Funeral service there tomorrow afternoon at 2, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family home private, please, at the request of the deceased. Family flowers only, please, donations in lieu if desired, to St Patrick's Church, Donachmore, care of any family member, or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
I've got a new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and my umbrella. You see, Now Brief with Galaxy AI learns my schedule to keep me one step ahead of my day. Activity stats, my diary, transport updates, and the weather. Thanks, Now Brief. Pre-order the epic new Galaxy S25 Ultra at Samsung.com by the 6th of February and get 512 gigabytes for the price of 256 gigabytes. Operates as a price discount. T's and C's apply. Samsung account login and network connection required.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And you're very welcome back to the second hour of today's 9 till Noon Show. Coming up after the next break, we'll have Community Garda information, because it is Tuesday and we can tend to get caught out a little bit after the longer weekend. So hopefully we do find you well, and we do find you on a Tuesday and not on a Monday in your head. Right, let's go back to working conditions for nurses at Letterkenny University Hospital. I think this is really useful, and I think this is how this show can be important, or one of the ways in which it can be important, in that just get a bit of public information out there. In the first hour, we heard from a mum whose daughter came off a shift at the weekend, 13 hours as a nurse. She's working in difficult conditions as it is, and sometimes, which is understandable, I suppose, families can get frustrated with the frontline staff, and she can find that upsetting, even though, as a mum describes her, she's a tough wee cookie, but she's seeing it starting to have an impact on her. And we had this communication from another listener. Hi, Greg and team. I'm also a nurse working in the hospital and can completely relate to how this nurse is feeling. While we understand the frustration of families, please don't forget we feel it too. We're constantly fighting for our patients with little support from management. Please bear in mind, you don't know what that nurse is going home to or what is going on in their lives. We've got no control over staffing or resources, and we are trying our very best every day to work with what we have. Again, an interesting insight from staff there. Hi, I live in a cul-de-sac in a small town, but my parents live in a standalone rural house. I'm regularly losing power with minor winds, but my parents near the coast hardly ever lose power. Because, we have some of the most resilient networks in this part of the world. Now, what happened 2 weeks ago? 1,250 homes, farms and businesses were still without power yesterday, by the way, 9-10 days afterwards, and there's still hundreds that are out there. But because we are exposed, our network, generally speaking, is really quite resilient and in good nick, we're told. So that's a fact. Greg, the main reason so many people are without electricity is the amount of wires that have been taken down due to falling trees, yet all you hear is plant more trees. It's near impossible for ESB crews to get to some areas again due to trees. Well, plant more trees, just don't plant them near electricity pylons. Missed that man, but one point, if you can't clean our rivers and drains and stop most of this flooding, trees falling into rivers blocking the flow, surely that's what happened to Backstreet and Killybegs. Yeah, the drainage system was blocked. Let me see. Okay, we're back to the United States. Someone had said that there was a lack of understanding of the politics and that Donald Trump's getting credit perhaps he doesn't deserve. Broad paraphrase. And I think this listener replied, that's my point, Greg. You can dispute both sides of the border as actions already underway. As if you look into it, you would see Mexico and Canada are doing nothing new. Nor is Colombia. In fact, he ceded to Colombia when they refused the deportees, while the news reported it as him winning. And that's overall my point. The man has loss after loss after loss, and the talking heads on the news radio podcast sit there without doing any research beyond the headline saying, golly geez, he's sure he's getting the job done. I'm not a head wobbler. I would be digging a little bit deep into it, and I think he did get some wins on the borders there. That being said, my point of view does not invalidate yours or vice versa. I just feel that he seems to be getting some stuff done, but you're of the view that he doesn't, and I fully respect that point of view, and perhaps you are better informed on all of that than I am. Greg, where is Health and Safety Authority? Why are they not involved in the hospitals? I worked years ago for an old company. The HSE were calling. We weren't allowed to place a box of photocopying paper on the floor in case someone fell over it. Please have a HSE inspector on to answer this question. And other things will never change in Letterkenny University Hospital until you change the mindset of management. Politicians do not listen fully. The place needs an overhaul from Galway, the head of CELTA, for far too long. All staff have been working under strength, bullied every day going into work, seen it for the last 40 years. You speak up, you become a target. That's just within staff. There's no accusations of bullying beyond that. Hi, Greg. I'd like to bring your attention to an ongoing issue with children underage out rallying on the country roads near the forestry in Kirkstown and all the main and back roads around Trenta and Soccer. They're driving at ridiculous speeds. Someone is either going to get killed or someone is going to run into them at all hours of the day. I just wonder, where are the parents, as they look like very small boys on rather large quad bikes? Okay, so this is younger people, it seems. This caller is concerned that younger people out on quad bikes rallying on the country roads near the forestry in Kirkstown. Is that something you've come across and something that you're concerned about? Hi, Greg. Do you know when the road at Tullyrap will reopen again? Diverted in lorries a few times a day. Some diversions when diverting in lorries a few times a day. Thanks. They're going to make a further announcement tomorrow night. So it's closed today and tomorrow, and they're going to give us an update tomorrow night. I had a bin going out for years putting labels on, but we stopped labels, and as I only had a bin once a month, it cost me far too much. Labels should be fit to be put on a bin, not paying a standing charge for no bin going out. Yeah, indeed, things have changed in that regard. More about rubbish. Disposing of rubbish should be free as it is in the north. So do we believe that the littering on the roads and the fly tipping is down to money? Do you think these people who are responsible, if it were free, would dispose of it? You know, you see stuff that you can dispose of for free and it's still dumped on the side of the roads. Or maybe that's just a wider point and not necessarily as a fix. Read the litter along the roads. Has anyone ever drove behind a bin lorry? The amount of rubbish that falls and flows out of the back of them is ridiculous. Really needs looked into by the companies. That's interesting. No, I haven't seen that. But I also have not seen anyone dump stuff out of the window for a very long time of a moving car. A caller says, we do an annual clean-up in April on a main tourist road. The amount of energy drink bottles, especially high-energy drink bottles, thrown into the roadside is unbelievable. I believe it's cyclists and adults throwing their takeaway litter. Go to the cinema any night and see what adults leave behind them for others to pick up. Really interesting point, that. I have waited to the end. The lights went up and the mess that's left behind. Yes, indeed. Stop broadcasting ads by Bord Gas. They do not deliver gas to the whole of Ireland. There is no gas in Donegal, so why advertise here? People have tanks and do get Bord Gas delivered to their tanks, so there's no underground network of gas delivery, but people do get gas delivered to them by Bord Gas. Bord Gas also provides electricity, and they also now fit solar panels as well. So I presume that's why they wish to advertise up here. Hey, they're not going to be wasting their money. They're obviously see a market here. But I do believe that, and I'm very much open to correction as always, I do believe that you can have a gas tank, like an oil tank, for an example, that gets topped up. Rightio, I'm going to take a break. Then we're going to be joined by Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from the Buncrana Garda Station. She's going to be giving us the very latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. That's coming up very shortly.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 4th of February. You're playing on the brown sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S7. It's game number 6. The numbers are 24, 55, 10, 26, 64, 44, 6, 90, 19, and finally 3. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Sale at Yisk ends now with fantastic offers. Save up to 70% on more than 250 discounted articles. Buy now in your local Yisk store or online at yisk.ie. Yisk.
Scandinavian sleeping and living.
The Smart #1 comes with more. More space. Like, much more. More room for kids, shopping, luggage, even the dog. More tech. More of that Mercedes-Benz design with up to €9,800 savings and 0% finance. It's the all-electric Smart #1. Now with more car. Find out more at smartelectric.ie or visit your local Mercedes-Benz dealer while stocks last. €9,800 saving includes €3,500 SEAI grant, €3,500 Smart Sustainability promotion and €2,800 applicable VRT relief.
Ah, that's the sound of Calor, of cosy movie nights in, shove over, of the post-match get the cold out of your showers, a fry-up on a Sunday morning. It's the sound of homes running on easy, efficient energy. And right now, homes not on the gas network can get a free boiler by switching from oil to Calor gas for their home energy and heating. So every day sounds a little more like this. Nice and toasty in here. Calor, the energy that connects us. Terms and conditions apply. See calorgas.ie for details.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91 26025.
Okay, Tuesday the 4th of February, time for this week's Community Garda information in the company of Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from Buncrana Garda Station. Charlene, thank you so much for your time. Quite a bit to get through, so we'll kick off with investigations ongoing into a burglary in Stranolar.
That's correct, Greg. So Garda are investigating a burglary that occurred at Meeting House Street, Stranolar on Wednesday the 29th of January between 1am and 7:30am. Now, a house at that location was entered between those times and a number of items were stolen. A gold-clad ring, a sum of cash and 2 VW Passat keys were stolen from within the house. Now, a door and a window was left open by the intruder. However, no damage had been caused in order to gain entry. So we'd appeal to anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity at Meeting House Street, Stranolar between 1am and 7:30am to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 0749167
A little further south now, and a burglary in Inver.
That's correct. Another burglary, Greg. So we're just appealing for information in relation to this one. This occurred in the area of Kilmacredon, Inver, between the 1st of January and the 25th of January. Now, a caravan had been parked in the driveway of a derelict house and it was burgled between those dates. The owner of the caravan called to check it on the 25th of January following the storm the previous day, only to discover what had occurred. The door of the caravan had been forced open in order to gain entry. All the cushions and upholstery had been stolen from within the caravan, and also stolen was a tinted washroom window, a rear offside light unit and a leisure battery. So once again, we're just appealing to anybody who may have any information in relation to this particular investigation to contact Garda in Ballyshannon this time on 071 98 58530.
Yeah, and that was pretty much over any point in January up until the 25th, so people might have to rack their brains there. Back to Ballybofey and an assault being investigated.
That's right, Greg. On the 2nd of February at approximately 2:35am, Gardaí were alerted that a man had been injured and required an ambulance at Navanny Street, Ballybofey. Upon their arrival at the scene, Gardaí spoke to a man who had been attended to by ambulance personnel. He reported being struck from behind by an unknown male, and he fell as a result of the blow. Now, the man was taken to hospital in Letterkenny to receive medical treatment. His injuries, though, are not believed to be life-threatening. So appeal to anyone who may have been travelling in the area, who may have been out for the night, perhaps they were socialising on Navanny Street, anyone with dashcam footage. And again, that's on the 2nd of February between 2am and 2:35am. We'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny 9167100.
And it's a very serious incident, obviously, Charlene, but all too often we're reminded of, one-punch injuries. So, someone is punched and they fall and receive injuries to the head. In some cases, very seriously injured. In other cases, too, they die. People who might be involved in this type of activity need to be aware that they could be facing charges, obviously, in relation to this, but it could be very, very serious.
Absolutely, potentially fatal in some cases, Greg.
Yeah, criminal damage now at Castle Street in Letterkenny, Charlene.
So we're appealing for information this morning in relation to a criminal damage incident that occurred at a derelict house at Castle Street, Letterkenny, between the hours of 9am and 2pm on Tuesday the 28th of January. Now, a rear window of a house was smashed between those times. So once again, if anyone has any information in relation to this particular incident, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny 9167100.
All right, home heating all being stolen?
That's correct, Greg. Gardaí in Ballybofey received a report recently from a resident at Blue Cedars, Ballybofey, in relation to the theft of home heating oil from their tank. Now, the theft is believed to have occurred between Friday the 24th of January and Saturday the 1st of February. The caller noticed that the cap from the oil tank was lying on the ground, and when he checked the tank, he discovered that it was almost empty. So appeal to other residents in the area, and that is of Blue Cedars, Ballybofey, to make contact with us if indeed that they observed any type of suspicious activity in the area, or perhaps they have any information in relation to this type of activity. We'd ask them to contact Gardaí either in Ballybofey or Letterkenny.
Yeah, probably no harm to check their own oil levels either, because often you only find out when the oil stops working, although there was an indicator with the cap off in this instance. On to Burt now, and investigations ongoing into a road traffic collision.
That's correct, Greg. Now, this is in relation to a witness appeal, actually, for a road traffic collision that occurred in Moness in Burt on the 2nd of January. The collision occurred at approximately 3:15pm on that date. There were no serious injuries as a result of the collision, but an ambulance was called to the two-vehicle RTC. There was 2 witnesses that had stopped at the scene. Both were females. We believe that it may be a mother and a daughter. But unfortunately, they left the scene before the Garda arrived. So the Garda are just anxious to speak to them, and we'd ask them that if they are listening this morning, that they contact Garda in Buncrana on 9320540.
All right. Now, the police work is ongoing, often behind the scenes, and it has led to recent drug seizures. What do we know about that?
So recently, the Divisional Drug Unit based here in Letterkenny had a number of good detections following several searches that took place in the Letterkenny area. So the first one was on the 29th of January. The Divisional Drug Unit were assisted by the Armed Support Unit in executing this particular warrant. And in the course of the search, the suspected cocaine with the value of €2,800 and suspected cannabis with a value of €1,200 was seized, along with €1,900 in cash and 230 sterling was also seized. Now, a man and a woman, both aged in their 20s, was arrested and detained. One was then charged to appear in court and the other was released pending a file to the DPP. And then the second one was on Thursday, the 30th of January. The Divisional Drugs Unit searched house in Letterkenny and seized €10,500 worth of methamphetamines and €30,500 worth of cannabis. Now, a man in his 30s was arrested and charged, and he will appear in court next month. So I suppose, Greg, these searches took place as part of Operation Tara. The focus of Operation Tara is to disrupt, dismantle and prosecute drug trafficking networks at all levels, whether that's international, national and local, involved in importation, distribution, cultivation and production and local sale and supply of controlled drugs. So we're just appealing to anyone who has any information in relation to this sale and supply of controlled drugs in Donegal or indeed the border region to contact us in Letterkenny 9167100, and that information will be passed on to the Divisional Drug Unit. Or indeed the Garda Confidential line is always there too on 1800 666 111.
I mean, people might be, given sort of the nature of the crime we're talking of, they might be fearful of some sort of retribution or what have you if they do pass on information. How can you reassure people just to make sure that if there is information out there that the Garda get it?
Well, I suppose if people are afraid to contact the Garda station and report, as you said, make a report in case that, I suppose, their identity, of maybe they would fear that they have to provide their name or the details. They don't. But the Garda Confidential line is there. They can ring up, they can provide the details. They're always passed on then to the Garda station that it's relevant to. So I would say to anyone that, look, if they don't want to come into the station, if they don't want to call the station, if they feel that their information that they're going to provide is not going to be treated confidentially, then just contact the Garda Confidential line. They will pass on the information to us and we will act upon it.
All right. A lot of the time we're talking about scams and they're getting more technical all the while, aren't they? Romance scams, invoice scams, claiming to be from the government or a bank or what have you. But we also see the tried and tested, the old reliables, the in-person scams, and that's the warning for the public out there today, Charlene.
That's correct, Greg. So we received reports of tarmac scams recently where a man or men typically go door to door claiming to be builders working on contract who have some leftover tar. Perhaps they want to conduct work on your driveway at a low cost for you. They have material they can often use. They have gravel chip-ins covered in engine oil that are not the right depth or any type of material to form lasting road surfaces. These conmen may target elderly, vulnerable residents or businesses and claim to be official contractors working on roads to add credibility. They often increase the cost during the course of the work, claiming that the job has required more material than expected, and they may then start issuing threats. So as I said, we received reports of this type of bogus callers in the Glenties area recently. They were reported to be travelling in a white Land Rover Defender, although please keep in mind that various vehicles can be used. We'd say to people this morning, to your listeners, just to be vigilant, to inform Gardaí immediately, Greg. Should you have a caller come to your home who are offering to sell to lay tarmac, do not open your door to anyone unless you are sure who they are. Use a chain lock for extra security and do not agree for work to be carried out or pass on your personal details to these type of callers. Should you come across them, we would ask you, though, again, just to be vigilant, to contact perhaps maybe Buncrana, Letterkenny, Milford or Ballyshannon and make the Gardaí aware of it. And if possible, take a note of their description, perhaps the vehicle, the colour, the make, model, if you can get a partial reg, the direction of travel, and if you have CCTV on your property, if you have the doorbell cameras, if you have any of that, make Gardaí aware of that information.
Yeah, because common sense will kick in, but sort of the aggressive, urgent nature sometimes, they use that to try and sort of overcome people's common sense, don't they? Or maybe target people that are on their own or older or vulnerable. Just call the guards straight away. You're not wasting the guards' time.
Absolutely,
if you have any
no
concerns
way.
at
Yeah,
all.
absolutely.
And I can tell you right now, if you were looking to get someone to tarmac your drive, firstly, it would take an awful long time because they're incredibly busy.
Yes.
And also, people aren't driving around with leftover tar in the back of their car. Just as I say, it's a common sense thing, or in the back of their truck. It just does not happen. Let's talk about this charity truck run that's taking place.
Yeah, so a charity truck run will take place on Saturday, the 8th of February, so this coming Saturday. The charity run will raise funds for Rafo Community Playgroup and Donegal Hospice. So there'll be approximately 20 trucks taking part in this event, Greg. The trucks will be leaving Rafo Mart at about 3 p.m. and they'll travel along the R236 to Ballinalecky Junction and on to the N14. They'll then make their way to Manor Cunningham roundabout and they'll take the second exit, is what I have here, on the N13. Well, they'll turn and head out the road towards Bridgend, really. They'll go round the roundabout and back in towards Letterkenny and into the Clannery car park.
You're not getting paid enough for this show.
I am certainly not. I should have just... but into Clannery car park, and then Gardaí will be on hand, I suppose, to assist with traffic management on the day. Hopefully there will be minimum disruption to traffic. But we just ask any road users, just maybe leave extra time for your journey. That's the route that they'll be taking on the day, and just be mindful that there'll be slow moving traffic in the area.
And it's all for a great cause. It's the Rafo Community Play Group, and the full route of that. Sorry, I beg your pardon. And the full route of that too will be available on the Garda Síochána Facebook page as well. I've no doubt. Right now, speed limits, they're being reduced on many Irish roads this year. A bit of confusion in relation to this, not least in my head. About how this is all going to work out. It's coming in phases, so I presume we're going to start on the first phase of this from Friday, Charlene.
Yeah, so the first phase of the changes will take effect on Friday, the 7th of February, when default speed limits on rural local roads will decrease from 80 kilometres per hour to 60 kilometres per hour. New speed limit signs will replace existing ones to reflect the changes. Now, the meaning of a rural speed limit sign, I suppose, is a white circle with 5 diagonal lines on it, and this will change from 80 to 60 kilometres. Now, later in the year, Greg, speed limits in urban areas, which will include built-up areas as well as housing estates, town centres, they'll all reduce to 30 kilometres, and speed limits on national secondary roads will also reduce from 100 to 80 kilometres per hour.
Now, there is some discretion within the council to retain the upper speed limits. We don't have that information yet, do we?
We don't, Greg.
We don't.
No,
okay.
No.
But that's something we're going to be very interested to find out, because obviously there are really good roads that
Yes.
I think the council can sort of opt out in relation to that. So what brought these? Why are these changes being made, or under what act, Charlene?
Well, these changes are being made under the Road Traffic Act 2024, following a number of key recommendations from the Speed Limit Review, which was undertaken by the department in 2023. So we just say to people that if in doubt, they can log on to gov.ie/speed limits, and they'll get more information there. And any of the roads I see at the moment, I was out last week and I see that the council are out and they're replacing the signs.
See that, yeah.
So just to keep an eye on the signs as well, and for people.
Yeah, for sure. Right, I think we had 3 recent recruits in Donegal, and we had a young lady Garda in here recently who was fresh out on the job, and another recruitment campaign is ongoing now from Garda Síochána.
So the latest Garda recruitment competition will commence on Thursday. It's Friday the 6th of February 2025. Between now and then, we encourage those who are interested in applying to check out the eligibility requirements and training process at, again, www.garda.ie.
And the age is up, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Up to 50, is it?
Yes.
Okay, no bother. I'd sail
You could
that.
apply.
No problem. I would sail
You
it.
can sign up. I have paperwork here. I took it with me.
Right, okay. Now, yes, an update from last week. Always good to get the update, Charlene.
Yes, we just want to give a wee update in relation to an appeal that was made last week in connection with a road traffic collision that occurred at Stranraer on January 22nd. We made an appeal for one of the drivers involved to make contact with Garda, and they did so immediately following the appeal when it was aired. So we're most grateful for the opportunity to issue our appeals here every week. Greg, I'll get my words out right today.
Good.
It's after the bank holiday. Just bear with me. And because often there is crucial information or to get in touch with people that we need to speak to, and we're really thankful for the airtime that you give us every week. And thanks to the listeners as well for getting in touch with us and providing that information that we need, because it is of huge benefit to the investigations that we have.
And
so
we can't reference it all of the time. That's why it's
Absolutely.
nice to get up the updates, because often it's part of an ongoing investigation and it can take time. A caller was asking about opening times of Garda stations. Caroline mentioned this to you?
Caroline mentioned it to me this morning. Maybe some substations, what they might refer to. I think maybe that was that.
Okay.
It was more, well, I suppose the likes of the district headquarters are all 24 hours, Greg, but I suppose you would have substations or rural stations that are not 24 hours. So that what that means is they would be manned from the main headquarters like Letterkenny or Buncrana, Ballyshannon and Milford. But I would say is that if somebody is looking for someone in a substation, so say for the Buncrana district, if someone wants to speak to a guard in Muff, they would be better off contacting Buncrana because it's 24 hours. They can tell them then when the guard is working, when they're due to work, because what could happen is the guard might be working, but a call could come in and that guard would have to respond to it because it could be in their area. So I think the best advice across the board would be just to contact the district headquarters, and we have 4 of them in Donegal. Contact them and they'll be best able to advise the caller or the person that's looking to make the inquiry.
Because there's no fixed times as such, because as you say, a guard may have to, or guards may have to respond to an incident, and therefore you couldn't say they're going to be there at 2 if they get a call at 10 to 2 and have to head off.
Well, that's it. But I suppose, look, where we would know about something, they could put arrangements in place to ensure that the guard is there at 2 o'clock to deal with whatever the inquiry is.
Brilliant. As always, Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 4th of February. Back with you next Tuesday, just after the 10 o'clock news.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Set sail on your dream holiday with Royal Caribbean and Atlantic Travel, Royal Caribbean's official booking agent in Donegal. Explore stunning destinations, indulge in luxurious onboard experiences, and create memories to treasure forever. Visit atlantictravel.ie today. Your Royal Caribbean adventure awaits.
Valentine's Day is almost here. Still looking for the perfect treat for your special someone? Make this day unforgettable with a gift from Pandora. Don't wait until the last minute. Visit us now in store and online at pandora.net to find the perfect symbol of love.
If you're ready to transform your space this spring, Foy's have the experts to make your dream design come true. Their interior design and paint colour consultants are there to help with free consultations throughout February. Whether it's a home makeover or a commercial project, they've got you covered with advice on paint, wallpaper, curtains, blinds and furniture styling. Plus, they're the largest paint stockists in the Northwest. Book your consultation today and let Foy's bring your interior to life.
Meet the all-new Ford Transit Connect and Transit Courier, both totally redesigned and equally hardworking, bold, versatile, and built to go the distance. The Courier, it's the van that delivers, literally. The Connect, the ideal companion for your business, no matter the challenge. And now they're smarter than ever, available in plug-in hybrid and electric. Small vans built for big jobs. Discover the Ford Pro range on Ford.ie or visit your local dealer today.
Just to remind you that, of course, you can listen back to Community Garda information on our podcast, which is live on our website, highlandradio.com, from around about 12:30 this afternoon. We don't hang about, get that podcast up 12:30. And also you can watch it back. It'll be posted on the Highland Facebook page, but also hopefully Grania will link it on the Garda Síochána page. It's hard to sometimes pick up all the information, so it's nice to have an opportunity, isn't it, to listen back. Right, now as part of World Cancer Day today, the 4th of February, we speak to Eileen Finnegan, who was diagnosed on the 10th of July with breast cancer and is with us now. Aisling, thanks for your time today. How are you keeping?
I'm doing very well, Greg. Thank you.
All right. Leading up to your diagnosis, we often talk about looking out for symptoms, and it's solid advice, and everybody should, changes in the body and all that type of stuff. But you didn't get much forewarning of your cancer, did you, Aisling?
Absolutely not. I had nothing, no lumps, no symptoms, no change in shape or anything. In fact, I hadn't felt as good in a long time. Do you know what I mean? And then to be called for my mammogram and to be told that they had found something was just terrible.
And you were called for your mammogram as part of the screening program, is that correct?
I was called to the hub at the tax office there in Letterkenny. And when I had my mammogram, they told me they had found something on the left-hand side.
Right.
But when I went to Galway then, they checked that and they said no, that was fine. But they went to the right-hand side and they found a small tumour. Well, they actually found 2 because they'd done 3 biopsies that day, and they were able to tell me that day that I had HR2 cancer. And then I was called back up the following week to have my 4th biopsy done, and that was to put in a little tracer to see if it had gone into my lymph nodes, but thank God that came back clear. So I ended up having a lumpectomy done on the 25th of July.
And that is to remove the lump?
That was to remove the lump, and then they give me the plan of treatment then.
And before we talk about that, Aisling,
yeah,
did you have any doubts about going for your mammogram? Because, sometimes we hear of people not turning up for lots of different reasons. Maybe they say, I have a holiday booked for that week, I'll just get it in the next round or what have you. Would you be the type that you didn't doubt, like, in other words, when you got the appointment, you says, right, I'm going to go and get this done?
Well, you know what, Greg? I should have registered, which I didn't.
Okay.
So that was, bad on my behalf. So whenever it came in, I was like, oh, sure, it'll be grand. Sure, we'll go anyway. Sure, I'm 52, so I should have been called long ago. And I was thinking why I hadn't been called. But the reason I hadn't been called is I didn't register.
Right.
So, so you should register and get these things done. But by good luck, I was called and I was found early.
Because, and it's really just important to point this out, yes, everyone should check themselves, check for changes and all that type of stuff, but you were completely asymptomatic. It was only the mammogram that picked up your cancer. And from there, there can be a lot of criticism of the system, but as soon as an anomaly was spotted, it all moved really quite quickly, probably almost... you were swept off your feet with it all.
Within 15 days, Greg.
Yeah.
Within 15 days of getting my diagnosis, Galway said, we'll call you back on the 25th of July, or 25th, yeah. And I was like, really? Everything just went so fast. I went in that morning at 8:30, had my surgery, and was back out standing at the chemist picking up my prescription at 3:20.
Wow. And just in terms of that window, we're all different, okay? So everyone's experience can be different. But, what was the most difficult time? Was it the diagnoses? Was it waiting to see the outcome of biopsies? Was it waiting to see if it had spread to your lymph nodes? Was it communicating this to family that are probably around you, Aisling? Just in that window, can you is it easy to pinpoint what was the most difficult, just in case people listening can relate to it?
I just think just sitting in the waiting room that day and they told me that I had cancer and I was just like, oh my God. And at that stage, they hadn't told me the type of cancer, but they were able to tell me on my first visit that I had cancer. So you're traveling back home and you're thinking, oh my God. And then when they tell me that I have to go back for a 4th biopsy to see if it had spread, like everything just comes to the fore. You're thinking, is this the end? Am I going to be okay? But then when I went back the following week, they reassured me that it hadn't and that everything would be okay and, that I was very lucky because the type of cancer I was diagnosed with, Greg, is it's a very aggressive cancer.
Right. It is aggressive. So if
it is aggressive.
So like time was of the essence. Your mammogram got this then in time, I suppose you could say, because if not, then there's absolutely no doubt it would have begun spreading to your lymph nodes and potentially other organs.
100%, and that's why I'm thinking that I was so lucky, and I can't praise the Letterkenny hub.
Yep.
You know, they were amazing.
And you were lucky, but we make our own luck, and that's why, just to emphasise the importance of going for that mammogram, firstly registering, but go to that appointment, because we hear all too often that people don't make these appointments, which is incredibly worrying. So you went, you had the diagnoses, then really quite quickly thereafter you had the lumpectomy. It was confirmed to you that the cancer hadn't spread to your lymph nodes. And then they sort of talked to you then about a treatment plan. Does that begin immediately, or how did that work in your case, Aisling?
You have to wait then for the surgery to kind of settle down. So there's normally a window of 12 weeks, Greg, which is a very long time. And I remember they told me that I would have to go to Letterkenny for my chemotherapy, and then I would have to go to McGarvey for my radium. So I went to the oncology unit, and they told me I think it was about maybe 7 or 8 weeks in at that stage, and they told me that there might be a 3-month waiting list. And
Right.
I was thinking, oh my God, but thank God there wasn't. And I was seen within 13 weeks of my surgery.
And am I correct in saying that you've just concluded your chemotherapy?
I started my chemotherapy on the 8th of October, and I finished it there on the 21st of January.
And did your bloods behave themselves? Did you have any treatments that were deferred, or?
No, every time I went in, Greg, I was always very apprehensive that the bloods would be not right, but I got every single treatment, and on the oncology unit in Letterkenny are absolutely fantastic. Amazing what they do, you know.
Yeah. So
It's
what was your
fantastic.
chemo experience like? It's different for different people, but it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the first one really took me by surprise, because within a couple of days I could feel a tingling in my head, and the hair, when I started to wash my hair, it was all matted, so my hair started to fall out from the very get-go. And every other session that I got, the symptoms just seemed to prolong, and you were very sick. Your mental health is affected big time, Greg. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Every symptom: runny eyes, lose all the hair in your arms, everything, you know. Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it does one good job. It kills the bad cells, but it also kills all the good cells.
And yeah,
You know?
and I think you mentioned something really quite important too, is the low days and the impact you can have. And I'm sure people go, is this worth it? You know, how can I put myself through this? My head's tingling, my hair's falling out, I feel like crap for a couple of days.
Yeah.
You know, you really need to sort of look after your mental health and do everything you can to sort of stay as strong as you can through that very tough period.
Yeah. So what I started to do from the very start, Greg, I do a wee kind of like a wee podcast or a wee blog on my Facebook page. And from the very start, I started documenting everything and tried to get people aware of getting checked. And that's for men as well as women. And, you know, if you feel that there's a difference, just get checked out. And, you know, I would go on there on my low days and I cried, and, you know, and there's a terrible stigma about mental health. There's a terrible stigma around cancer. When people hear you have cancer, they kind of shy away, and it shouldn't be like that, because, you know, it's amazing what they can do now.
Yeah. And if you don't know what to say, just listen.
Absolutely. And a lot of people find it very hard, and, you know, they don't know what to say, but they don't understand that the people going through it don't know how to react either, because it's all new to them as well.
And also, actually,
you know?
so say you're going through your chemo, you're just after had your third treatment, you feel like absolute crap, And then I try and make you feel better, and I say, yeah, I know, but Aisling, at least when they checked, it hadn't spread to your lymph nodes. Like that, you've already worked all that out in your head. I might be trying to be positive, right? But really, I should just be saying, well, how do you feel? Can I get you anything? How, you just have a general chit chat about how you're feeling and what you want to talk about. Not try and make you feel better with stuff you've already processed.
Yeah. Well, the hardest thing for me was whenever I would get my treatment, Greg, I wasn't able to see my family for nearly a week because you're chemo active and you're not allowed to be around young children or pregnant ladies, because my daughter's expecting her second child. My other daughter just had a little grandson.
Right. There's never a good time, but this is not a great time.
Yeah, but that was really tough because you're on your own and you're just, and I just felt that by me speaking out on my Facebook page really helped me. I know that there's other people that can't speak out and they've told me that in private messages. They were saying, you're so brave to be able to, but I felt that I had to.
Yes, I get
because
you.
if I didn't,
you're helping other people. You're helping other people as well, and there's
100%.
You're helping yourself, but you're helping others too, and you're giving others a voice that can't do it. So you still have the trek to out in the Galvin. Now it's not as far as Galway or Dublin, but you still have 2 weeks of radiation in out in the Galvin. Is that daily, or how does that work, Aisling?
So that's going to start hopefully now next week, Greg, because when you start your treatment, it's every 21 days. It's the cycle. It's every 21 days. So I'm day 14 now, so I should be starting my radium next week. Plus, I have to have an injection every 21 days for the next year as well. So the radium is going to be from Monday to Friday for 2 weeks.
And how do you feel about this process? Do you think right now I'm in the system, they're keeping an eye on me, they're doing the best that they can, or do you think like, oh my God, I can't bear this any longer? I suppose maybe on any given day, it's how you feel, is it?
Well, at the start, I was like, oh, God. But now I'm thinking, no, if you're in the system, you're there. They'll see changes. They check you all the time. So I'm thinking, no, I'm in the system now. I know it's a long journey and you just want to be at the end of it. But when I look back, remember a lady telling me it takes a year out of your life. Well, I'm 7 months in already and I have had my chemotherapy all done. I just have 2 more weeks of radium and then I'll start to see changes, and which is, I can't wait.
Yep, and there's little milestones along this journey as well. One of those was you at jiving on Sunday, which shows that you're bouncing back.
Yeah, we decided once I finished my chemotherapy journey, I love jiving anyway, I love dancing, so we went out on Sunday night. I didn't have a lot of energy, but it was just so good to see people and be out again, because you're not allowed to be out really when you're going through chemotherapy because your system is rock bottom.
And you don't want to risk getting the delay with your bloods or what have you. You don't want any
Well,
infections,
absolutely. And I was so lucky that I never got them turned down. I got my treatment every single time. So I got 6 in a row, which was fantastic.
All right, Aisling. Well, listen, thankfully things are going well. It's not done yet. You've another 5 months if you want to frame it like that, but you certainly have the 2 weeks of radiation out in the Galvin. But I think now you're on the upward. Like for a while you're going down the hill. I think you've hit the bottom of that hill and now you're heading up the way back to a full and healthy life, Aisling. It sounds like that anyway, which is
well,
great.
Yeah, and I can't wait, because when I went to Galvin, the lovely doctor that I had, she says, now you're going to have the dessert of the treatment. She said it's nothing like the chemo. So there you go. I can't wait to have this dessert.
Yeah, okay. All right. Listen, great to hear things are going well for you. The big takeaway from this, Aisling, and why we were so keen to speak to you, it's about, yes, of course, understanding and checking your body, but when you are able to register for the breast check program and turn up for your Yeah, never think that it's not important. Do it. Don't
say that there's something else. There's nothing more important than your health. So if you get that letter in the post, you keep that appointment.
And
I don't care what it is.
Our own Fanula here too, she's spoken about this publicly, so she won't mind me talking about it, I don't think. But she had a breast screening done, and then very soon after, and the breast screen came up, showed nothing, Aisling. And then very shortly after, she was called for as part of the breast screening program, and she said herself, she was thinking, "Well, I've just had a mammogram. I don't need another one." But then she did, and that's when things were spotted and spotted early, and she was able to get into the program. So there's a myriad of reasons as to why you should register and definitely go for your mammograms when called.
100%. 100%.
Aisling, best wishes for your ice cream. Or whatever, maybe it's banoffee pie you're having up there. I don't know what it is, but the very best of luck, and look forward to jiving as well. You're going to have to jive for June now, don't forget. That's coming up, Aisling, so we're going to be expecting you.
Well, I asked you to help to jive for June with me last year.
Here's the thing, Aisling. This June, me and you, we're going to be the partners for Jive for June.
Perfect.
Okay,
Well, we'll look forward to that.
remind me of that, because I've committed to it now, right? So that's it,
there
locked
you go,
in.
Sunday.
Right. Now, I don't mind if you cheat on me and have other people, but I definitely want to feature. Is that all right,
Okay,
Aisling?
correct.
Take care.
Perfect.
Bye-bye. Take care. That's Aisling Finnegan there. I'll make a note of that, but Aisling, I'm sure, will remind me.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio, in association with Arena 7, where you can enjoy dinner and drinks in a Woodbury Grill, bar and restaurant before bowling in Arena 7's state-of-the-art lanes. See arena7.ie.
Get the right tools or equipment to get any job sorted with the great weekend deal at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Hire any tools or equipment on a Friday for 1 day, and they're yours to use until Monday. 3 days hire for the price of one at Watson Hire every weekend. Get the job done and dusted with this great weekend hire deal at Watson Hire Lisnanen in Letterkenny. Call 916-7777 or see watsonhire.ie.
We all love to get the most out of things, like a sunny day while it lasts. In Ireland, it can be hard to get enough vitamin D from the sun. But did you know that 90% of us also don't get enough vitamin D from the food we eat? The great news is Avonmore Supermilk is fortified with vitamin D, helping us to absorb calcium for healthy bones and supporting the immune system too. Avonmore Supermilk, the most super our milk can be. Figures based on FSAI 2023 vitamin D study.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, today starting off wet across the region with persistent rain, which is clearing us now, and it's heading in a southeast direction. Showers, though, will follow. There will be some that will be heavy and some perhaps containing hail. Temperatures today, 6 to 8 degrees with fresh southerly winds becoming moderate to fresh gusty southwesterly. Tonight, mainly dry with long, clear spells. And that's going to be a pattern for the next few days. We're going to see much less moisture. Colder at night, but nice, dry, fresher days through to the weekend, which is positive, isn't it? Right, a caller says, a great strong lady, wishing her all the best. She is in my thoughts and prayers. Tia also on Facebook, Aisling, amazing, so courageous to do what she done, and delighted she's in great form. Why aren't Quiltshire questioned about planting non-native conifers which cannot root in peat bogs? You do see that around quite a bit. I don't know, is it Quiltshire planting them? I presume it is. Kids on quad bikes. You know that text we had earlier in the hour? A caller says this is not rallying. Rallying is a controlled sport that takes place on closed public roads and adheres to strict safety regulations, etc. I know what you're saying. It's a bit semantic in that he was talking about, geez, those boys are rallying around up there. It's not referencing the Donegal International Rally, for an example. A friend mentioned to me a new doctor arrived in the ED recently and made rapid changes to how people were dealt with and reduced the waiting times by hours. Let's hope these changes remain in place. I hadn't heard about that. Good morning, Greg. In my area, we have one bus company that takes people to Letterkenny 3 times a day. My problem is they don't do return tickets. You have to buy 2 singles. Surely it's illegal not to provide a return ticket. Well, I doubt it's not illegal. Sorry, I doubt it's not illegal. But it would be good business. It'd make you handier for the customer. Maybe just send us the company name and we'll check off air. It's possible maybe they can't issue return tickets. I don't know. Maybe customers prefer the 2 singles. If you give us the name of that company, we'll check that off air. Right, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. We're going to be talking to Donegal's 2 newest senators, hopefully in the next hour. Stay tuned for that. They're outgoing senators, of course, Senator Niall Blaney and Senator Eileen Flynn. They both were re-elected to the Seanad.
If that tickle in your throat has turned into a nasty cough, or if you're just feeling a bit under the weather, at McGee's Chemist we understand. From the right cough bottle to pain relief or throat lozenges, we've everything you'll need to get you back on your feet. Our pharmacists and experienced staff are always ready to offer advice and help you find the right solutions. Don't suffer in silence. Visit McGee's Chemist today. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, for healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
The TUI sale is now on. Save up to an extra €250 per booking. All-inclusive holidays from €499 per person. Plus low booking deposits from €50 per person. Book now on app, online or in your local store. Holiday deal sorted. TUI, live happy. Offer terms and conditions apply.
So he was like messaging me all night and then he just ghosted me. No way. Yeah. He was like, "You're so hot. I want to come over." Okay. And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "I'm on my way, driving over right now." And then? Nothing.
Phone use while driving can be deadly. Your phone, it won't kill you to put it away. From the Road Safety Authority, visit rsa.ie.
When it's confirmation time, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top label, casual and formal wear. Blazers and jackets with shirts to match. Denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, Cavani and Tommy Bow. Buy your confirmation outfit at Watson Menswear and one lucky person will get their money back. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, heading into the final hour of the programme, but first let's get a news update at 11 o'clock. And it's good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Garda are urging anyone with information in relation to the sale of supply of legal drugs in Donegal or the border region to come forward. It's after 2 significant seizures in recent days. In one, suspected cocaine with a value of €2,800 and suspected cannabis with a value of €1,200, along with substantial amounts of cash in both euro and sterling were seized. A man and woman, both in their 20s, were arrested and detained. In the other, €10,500 worth of methamphetamine and €30,500 worth of cannabis were seized. A man in his 30s was arrested. 2 court cases are pending. The opposition says sense has prevailed following the Ceann Comhairle's decision over speaking time in the Dáil. 4 regional independents who helped form the programme for government wanted to sit on the opposition benches, but Verona Murphy says she's not satisfied that they're members of the opposition. However, Donegal Deputy Pádraig Mac Lochlainn says the government could still seek a change in standing orders. He told today's 9 till noon show that Michael Lowry still seems to have some form of hold over the government. East Derry MLA Caoimhe Archibald is the new Economy Minister at Stormont. She's being replaced in finance by her Sinn Féin colleague John O'Dowd, who in turn is being replaced as Infrastructure Minister by Liz Kimmins. In a statement this morning, Ms Kimmins has pledged to continue prioritising major advances made by her predecessor, including moving forward with the A5 improvement scheme. An arrest has been made after 12 people were taken to hospital following a serious house fire in County Tyrone. Police rescued 4 children from the property in the Cunningham's Lane area of Dungannon. Several officers were treated for the effects of smoke inhalation. The cause of the blaze is being investigated. And Garda are investigating a serious weekend assault in Ballabafay on Sunday morning last at approximately 25 to 3, Garda were alerted to the fact that a man had been injured and required an ambulance at Navanny Street. They spoke to a man who was being attended to by ambulance personnel. Before being brought to hospital for treatment, he reported being struck from behind by an unknown male. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 12 midday.
Donald, thank you very much indeed. Back after a short break.
At this point in morning traffic, Sarah would be blaring the horn like it was going out of fashion. But today, she had deliciously healthy overnight oats from Aldi, sprinkled with fresh blueberries and nuts. So even though she's barely moved 20 feet in 20 minutes, she has achieved a zen-like state of contentment. But that could also be from the chocolate muffin she brought along as well. And we're moving. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
Now, congratulations, Senator Eileen Flynn, Ardra-based independent who has won a seat. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
How does
Absolutely.
Sorry, I think you were about to answer my next question, Eileen. How does it feel? Because, of course, you have competed in the election before. You did narrowly miss out. You were a Taoiseach nominee, but now you have been elected through the election process onto the administrative panel. So how does it feel?
Oh, absolutely incredible. Myself and John Campbell, we challenged ourselves and we went on the administration panel, which I needed 140 votes to be elected. And in the Labour panel last time around, I needed 95 votes, But in the last 4.5 years, Greg, I said true to my values, to my principles, worked with and for county councillors. I wouldn't be where I am this morning if it wasn't for the support of Donegal County Council. Credit where credit is due. Jimmy Brogan is up with me since Friday. He hasn't left the count centre. Declan Mean was very good. Redress, Fianna Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin. The councillors in Donegal stood with me, which was absolutely incredible, and it all shone through yesterday. I was just saying it to Caroline. I was in the toilet just sitting underneath the hand dryer for half of the count yesterday. And in comes Frances Black. She's like, you're going to be elected in the next 10 minutes. And I'm like, Frances is brilliant with mindfulness, and she has her own charity raise for people, families who have a sibling going through addiction. And I'm there and I'm like, will you F off with all your mindfulness? Of course I'm not. And just to get the fourth seat was absolutely incredible. It was just, oh my God, and yesterday I remember driving out of the site and thinking, can I do this? Can I do it? Is it possible for a member of the traveller community to be successful? Or this evening is it going to be, she was so close, she was so close,
It's a great, if we put to one side, the back and forth of politics where, people are pro-government, anti-government and all that kind of stuff, it is a great honour to be a nominee of the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin. So that is, in and of itself was a remarkable achievement. But battling yourself and winning people over and getting the support that you did and getting elected through the election process, does that make it extra special?
It does, Greg, because you're no longer the token seat. You are no longer, and again, Thomas Pringle, 5 years ago, John Campbell, we set out on a journey to get the seat, and the Labour panel actually this time 5 years ago, if you said to me you'd be a senator elected on your own merit, I probably would never say that's going to happen to me, so I'm just absolutely overwhelmed with joy that people like me can actually do it. But again, you need that support. You need people to believe in you. Like my husband, Liam, was always very good to me. The girls being very good yesterday. I just sobbed my heart out. The girls did 2 wee posters saying, well done, Mammy,
Lovely.
And it's years down the line for them. to see that their mammy did something with her life, you know, and being able to be successful. It's again like you
Eileen,
get told.
I get where you're coming from. Do you feel like you're still having to prove yourself to people though? Because I mean, you know, and I mean this with absolute respect, but you know, you've been a senator now for 4 or 5 years. You've proved your detractors wrong. You've had to put up with an awful lot of, you know, anti-traveller type abuse if you ever dared to post something on social media. But, you know, people think enough of you that they says, right, well, we want her to go back in there for another term. Like, do you feel that you still have to prove yourself to people? Because I don't think you do.
Do you know, Greg, if we look at politics and gender diversity, like we don't have people from minority groups represented in politics, and we talk about men at the top, but there's no members of the traveller community, there's no people from other ethnic minority groups at the top of these tables, never has been really in Ireland anyway. And I think being a member of the traveller community is something I'm personally extremely proud of that, you know, and it is unfortunate that you're always judged and being a member of the traveller community, you know. So if I went out and I said something extremely wrong and I was a nasty person, they never see the individual. They say, oh, well, she's a traveller. And we see it now with, oh, he's a foreigner, she's a foreigner, and it's nothing to do with people's identity, you know what I mean? And like that, yesterday driving out of the site, thinking of the young children who's in the local schools here, like being born a member of the traveller community, you know, you're automatically hated. Being a child in a pram, in a cot, you're automatically hated because of who you're born into, what you're like, and none of us have control of who we are. None of us have control of what we're born into, you know. And for me, I was born into an absolute brilliant community that, you know, people in the traveller community are just very loving hearted, would give you the coat after back, and many members of my community, and I've always been proud of that, and I'll always be proud of it. You know, people say never forget who you are. For me, I'll never forget who I am.
Okay, well, the last question was the ice cream. Here comes the veggies. Last time you were on, you talked of, you know, wanting councillors to get extra funding to employ an assistant or a PA. Not going to lie to you, Eileen, didn't go down well with the listeners. Is that still something that you're keen on? And what else do you hope to do over your next over the next term?
Okay, just to reassure your listeners that they vote for their local councillor. Their local councillor is meant to represent them. Okay. And for the councillor to have little or no support is absolutely appalling. We don't treat county councillors with the level of respect that we should, like TDs, like senators. And for me, it's about creating that local employment as well. I'd love to see young women in Donegal being able to be employed by their local councillor, to be on a good wage, to be based in Donegal. Same for young people in all over the country, you know, and to be able to, for councillors to be able to, if you want to say, have more implementation, to be able to work more with communities, and they do need that support. 100% councillors need that support. So I will be working on a piece of legislation along with Senator Francis Black to try and get county councillors a PA, you know. And again, like a lot of the time I get it, listeners, you know, saying, oh, but it's not giving councillors money, it's having a person working alongside a county councillor.
Well, they graft, there's no doubt about it. They do graft. We've seen that over the storm. Senator, go ahead, sorry, briefly if you don't mind.
I'm
Senator.
just saying that, like, a lot of the times, Greg, you know, I was very critical of county councillors, hands up I was, even when it came to traveller accommodation, etc. But when we talk about that woman I was on the programme with a few weeks ago, Mary Collins, you know, like, county councillors is out of their control. It's the system. Like, Mary is still being refused accommodation by the council, and that's nothing to do with county councillors, that's the system.
Okay.
You know, I'd love to give councillors back power to be able to represent local communities, because they're put there to represent their local communities.
Senator Eileen Flynn, thank you very much indeed. I'm sure we'll talk in a mo. Over the next wee while. Fianna Fáil Senator Niall Blaney held his seat on the agricultural panel. Congratulations, Niall. A remarkable achievement.
Thank you very much, Greg.
It's highly, highly competitive. A lot of candidates, a lot of big names, and you need a lot of votes to get over the line. So you must be personally delighted.
Personally privileged and delighted. I suppose, first of all, to congratulate Eileen again as well for getting over the line. And as she said herself, it's a massive achievement because it's on her own back this time, and she's there, deserving of it. And I suppose, like anybody that wants to be a senator, you have to graft, and she grafted over the last 5 years, and I'm delighted for her. But it's an absolute privilege to be there again, Greg. And as you say, it's a tough election. It's different. It's a different type of election. And in my case, 11 colleagues, all fighting for seats, and I suppose the difficult thing for anybody up in this part of the country to get a Shannon seat is that you have less representation than you have in the East Coast and the South. So you're always up against it to take a seat up here. So I'm absolutely delighted to have the opportunity to represent the people once again, yeah.
What's the next 5 years' priorities for you?
Well, I suppose it's a bit more of the same, Greg. Myself and Charlie McConlow would have been very project-oriented over the last 5 years, and that'll continue. Delighted we'll have Pat de Cope there now as well to help us in that regard, ensuring that the hopefully this court review over the A5 will go ahead, funding's in place for the A5 to happen, get through the planning process and get the 10T project underway, the hospital, the new community hospital up at Carnamugga, completed, and many other projects, school projects, healthcare projects across the county completed and underway. And obviously delighted as well to have Charlie McConlow as the sports minister. There's many sports projects that'll be waiting funding and some very big funding. So hopefully it'll be an exciting 5 years. And you have the mic. Many people.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. I mean, many people could have, would have written Fianna Fáil off in this county. I know you drew support from the county, but also from outside the county. But if you would have told people a year ago that your party would have a decent amount of seats on the local authority, would have had 2 TDs voted and returned to the Dáil, and also then to have an elected senator. A lot of people, not Fianna Fáil people potentially, but a lot of people who says no way, that's not doable. The party's written off. So the party's in a good position in this county.
Yeah, and I suppose that didn't happen by chance. There's a lot of work done into the last 5 years across the board with our councillors as well. We work very closely as a team, collectively in the county. And I suppose when you go in there to national level, Greg, it's about how you use those 5 years. And I think we've used the 5 years pretty well because, as we know from our history in the past, it's been very hard to get projects up here. Things are starting to happen, from piers and harbours to roadways. Things are starting to move up here. The MICA scheme, I never thought we would get the MICA scheme to where we did get it. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a long way moved forward now compared to where it was. And I suppose it's about using your position of power for your people, and that's really what politics for me is about. It's the people first and your party second.
You did mention the defective concrete block scheme, and it's something we've talked about in the past, and you have been controversial in relation to it. I think, if it wasn't for the defective concrete block scheme, you would be, pretty the whole defective concrete blocks crisis. It kind of has been a bit of a weight on you. I'm not sure you felt it, but you have been quite strong in your language in the past, defending it as a good scheme and questioning, foundations or driveways and things like that. Like, you've said some controversial things in the past. Are you a little bit more on side with the campaigners now, or do you stick to your guns? Do you accept that maybe? Sorry to frame it the way you did. I tried to cover an awful lot, but you know what I mean.
I have no problem with it, and I suppose it was a difficult road, but that's politics. But like, when a scheme comes forward to make it better, you have to work with what you have and try to make it better. I am glad that I stuck with the old scheme Because by keeping the old scheme and moving into the new scheme, we've got to keep everybody on board, all the current applications current. Because if we'd have scrapped the scheme like everybody was calling for back at the time, we'd be back at square one and people wouldn't be progressing the way they are now. It wouldn't be as far forward as it is now. That's why I wanted to keep the scheme. It's about practical, on-the-ground stuff that I was fighting for. And, you know, when you're in government and you're trying to deliver something, you have to work with the colleagues around you that are willing to work with you to deliver something. And that's what I was doing, and that's what I'll continue to do. And those issues that still had to be ironed out, there's people in those counties that still don't have accommodation that's fitting to their needs, people with people in the household that has a disability. There are issues that we still have to iron out in the NICA scheme, and we'll continue to do that. But that's what we're there for, and that's what we thrive for. We want to make lives better, people's lives on the ground better. And we worked damn hard to get the scheme to where it is. It's not where we want it to be yet. But it will evolve, and I've always said it'll evolve. But my interests were always about getting the best scheme on the ground, and we're getting to a good place with it.
Obviously, you part of your role is to discuss agriculture and fisheries, actually, as well, which I wasn't aware of until I did a bit of reading up on it. A lot of farmers, just staying with the DCB for some scheme, have been kind of left behind. Would you be making representations on their behalf? You know, those that have, you know, built sheds or what have you, and feel they can't put their head above the parapet because they don't want to sound, you know, impassionate towards people's whose private properties are being developed. Is that something you get much representation on? Really, is the question.
Well, I suppose when you hear that I'm elected in the agriculture panel, people would expect that all his work is in agriculture. It's actually not. It's the same run-of-the-mill politics as everybody else. But you do try to represent farming as much as you can, and particularly also the nominating body that would have nominated you to represent their interests. But moreover, you're using your time in Dublin to deliver projects for the county, Greg, to work with your colleagues, to use your position to the most advantageous possible position in delivery. Fortunately, not everybody does that, but that's certainly the makeup of myself and Charlie McConn-Logan, Patrick Gallagher, and our councillors around us who work very well as a team. And I have to say that team, if we hadn't worked as closely as we did over the last 5 years, we wouldn't have the scheme that we have in relation to the NICA redress.
Okie doke.
Now, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's a good fit for an awful lot of people.
Right.
But I'm still aware there's an awful lot of people out there.
Exactly.
Still
a lot of people would disagree, but
that
that's the way it is. Okay. Listen, Fianna Fáil Senator Niall Blaney, again, congratulations to you. Congratulations
Thank
to
you,
Senator
Greg.
Flynn.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Take care of yourselves. 08660 25,000 for right or for wrong. Obviously, you know, through text and what have you, the government gets quite a lot of criticism. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael do, so it's important to give everyone an opportunity to sort of outline why they believe that they're doing all that they can, and that's what's all about. And everyone should appreciate that. Everyone would want a fair media that's balanced to all. So we try and do that as much as is possible, but I know, and I'm sure some of you are getting your phones out now, not too pleased, and that's fine too, and others who will be happy. All right, I'm rambling. I do it quite a lot, do I? We've got live music coming up between now and the end of the show, you know that, and so much more besides. We've got a lot to squeeze in. Stay where you are.
Beidir go bhfuil fiche cuaig faoi lán seol, ach ná daon darmid faoin sean bhlín cánach. Log olasteach ar mo chórsaí de gcuid na Missionary Income chun do chuomh deire blina a heiceáil, agus éon chreid bheasana cánach a bhfuil tú i daid le éileh. Má tá aisí cíoch dlíta dit, joí tú é le stit de léanta. Má tá airige dlíta at dúin, a bromid leat ar rawa íciachta. Mo chórsaí, tá sé tapa, tá sé éasca, agus tá sé séir an aisce.
Restex Beds, celebrating 50 incredible years of helping you dream better, sleep deeper and wake up refreshed. For half a century, we've been your trusted partner in comfort and innovation. And now, introducing the new Glenveigh mattress, designed with cutting-edge technology for ultimate support and luxurious comfort. It's the perfect way to celebrate our golden anniversary with the best sleep of your life. Visit Restex Beds today and experience 50 years of excellence. Restex Beds. Leave the rest to us.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid.
EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Now the time is 22 minutes past 11, and we're joined in studio by Joe McHugh, who's got a new book out. Joe, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you. Thanks for having me in, Greg.
Just finished chatting there to Senator Eileen Flynn, Senator Niall Blaney. Had to go through that whole rigmarole of election. You're still not missing it, I doubt.
No, and I was watching the Senate election closely, and congratulations to Eileen. I think it's a tremendous achievement where she went from Atisha's nomination to getting the endorsement from the electorate, and I think that was fantastic, and congratulations to Niall. And I know as well John McNulty and Jim McGarvey put in a good battle as well, and it didn't work out for them this time. But it's a tough campaign. Senate campaign's a tough campaign.
Now, I was hoping for a book coming out with the warts and all, all the ins and outs, the ups and downs, how you were shafted, not shafted, who you shafted. We'll have to wait on that one.
That's a sequel.
In the meantime, we will do all right with Bay 2 all right. It's an Irish language journey.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting story and an interesting part of your life that was kind of thrust upon you to some extent.
Yeah.
Even though you're from a Gaeltacht area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take us back to when you were first approached, with that portfolio and your emotions about it. Because firstly, you'd have to admit that your language wasn't up to scratch, which in and of itself for some might not be something they want to do.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that particular day, it was mid-July, and the Taoiseach was ringing around members of Fine Gael and offering them jobs, ministers of state. And to be honest, Greg, I wasn't expecting the call-up because I was on the other side of the heave in 2010, and in 2011 I didn't get a job in the junior ministerial ranks. And it certainly was. Even my phone was on 7%, so I wasn't even.
You weren't anticipating it.
I was in the playground with Dara. Dara was in Dublin that day, and I was in Marion Park playground with him, and the phone was on silent on 7%. And I remember, just for the curiosity or whatever, I took it out of my pocket and I had 2 missed calls from the same number, a Dublin number, and I rang it back, and it was the Taoiseach's office. And I'll never forget that feeling of just happiness when knowing that it was, I was going to be given a job, but for the life of me, I never anticipated that I would be getting the job as Minister for the Gaeltacht.
And had you sort of, to some extent, certainly under the current party leadership, resigned yourself to the role of a backbench TD? Because as you mentioned, you were on the wrong side of that heave.
Yeah, it's one thing that politicians have to live with. You live by the sword and die by the sword in politics, and when you're on the wrong side of a heave, things just may not work out for you. But in time, I suppose you continue to do your job. I mean, Enda gave me a very, very important post as chair of the Good Friday Agreement and co-chair of the British Irish Parliamentary Assembly. So that was my opportunity to prove myself in those 2 positions. And in fairness, he rewarded me for the work that I did.
Did you ever have a conversation with him about that?
I did. Look, Enda, people say about Enda, it's very hard to get to know the real Enda Kenny. And for the bit that I know, I thought Enda was very straightforward. He was very black and white. He's straight out to me. He says, like, Joe, you go to Glencolmkill for a couple of weeks and you'll be grand. Now, I knew that wasn't going to be the reality. I knew that there'd have to be a hell of a lot more work in spending 2 weeks in Glencolmkill. And while Glencolmkill Gael gave me the great start that I needed. So Enda was he didn't dig deep into things in terms of the whys and the why not. He was very much, a practical politician. He says, right, Joe, I've confidence in you. You do this job, you go and do it, and I know you'll do it well.
So he offered you the Minister for Natural Resources, the Gaeltacht and the Islands, which actually is, really quite a significant role for us here in Donegal. But of course, your representation would have gone beyond your home county. Did you wobble on it at all? Did you say, well, what about my language? I know you referenced that he said head to Glencolmkill for a couple of weeks. But how long between the offer and the acceptance passed?
You see, you have to, I suppose, going back, like, it's very clear for me, not the range of emotions, there were just 2 emotions. So I was so happy walking into that office, waiting outside the office. And in fact, it is quite an emotional thing because you're not even happy for yourself. You're happy for all the people that help put you there, whether it's from family, whether it's supporters. And to go on and sit in front of Enda, as I'm sitting in front of you now, Greg, and Enda sits there and he doesn't say anything, and it was me broke the ice, and I say it in the book, like I presume I'm not here to give you advice on how to win All Ireland's, Enda. And I don't think he smiled at that, but
Did
anyway.
you bring a can of Lilton at least?
He was very, he sat there with the arms folded behind the desk, and he says, no, that's not why you're here. I'm here to give you a job. And I remember him starting off giving me the full title of the Department of Communications, and he says, I want you to do a job in the Department of Communications, Energy and Natural Resources. So I thought that was the job. So I'm still things are grand, but it was only one element of that department, as you mentioned, natural resources. And then he said, I want you to do the Gaeltacht as well. And it was just one of, people who've had shocks in their life for one reason, like real shocks and real life shocks, and having to deal with awful tragedies and all that. So I'm not comparing this moment with any of the real difficult things, but my emotions just pivoted. I went from a very, very happy place to a place of nearly despair, and I said straight out to Enda, I said, Andy, I'm not able to hold a conversation with Gaeilge. I'm not able to do this. And he felt different.
After the fact, it makes a great deal of sense, right? Because you're promoting the language. You're an adult who is not fluent in Irish. So you head to the Gaeltacht, or further deeper into the Gaeltacht, if you like, and you learn Irish, and you are the minister for the Gaeltacht and the Irish language, and promoting the Irish language. So was this a masterstroke by him that he thought, right, this is really going to boost the language? Or did he just have faith in you that you could get your Irish up to scratch, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I suppose if I was speculating, I think he just he'd confidence to be able to handle it.
Right.
Was it a masterstroke that he knew that this was... I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. But I do know this. Once I made a public statement in the Dáil the next day, once I stood up, and it was Asperla, I wrote me a glorch fridge Gaelic the Dáil again last year, and well, get the big, but I was speaking a little bit in Irish that day, but in English I stood up because Cormac Malabs, I put my hand up and I said, I'm not in a position now to master the conversation, and speak in Irish, but I'm willing to go back and learn, and I'm willing to dig deep and do it.
And before we talk about that journey, what was the initial, I seem to recall it, the initial reaction, okay? Because if I'm a fluent Irish speaker, I'm very passionate about the language, but not just how it speaks, but also what it means, the cultural importance of it, which you learnt on your journey and we'll talk about. Was there much of a backlash? And did you feel that, you know what I mean, that you weren't worthy of this role because you didn't have Irish?
Yeah. Well, it backed up my own doubt. I had my own self-doubt that I could do it. And then when people were articulating, I think there were 300 people the next day outside the Taoiseach's office shouting Aragan Changa, Aragan Clue. A minister without a language is a minister without a clue. So that nearly backs up my own self-doubt. But on the other hand, I had made the commitment. So it was two things were in parallel. I made the commitment. And while people were publicly given out, and it was through different mediums, and and the 6-1, if you're the headline news and the 6-1 news in RTE, there's trouble ahead.
Always good.
But the other side of the coin was, privately and also publicly, there were people coming out saying, "Give this."
Well, they could see the potential,
and the opportunity. Yeah.
Because one of a lot of the people that are charged with promoting the Irish language, it's actually not to judge others, to appreciate if someone's trying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That it might not be perfect, but that's how the language lives, and then hopefully those people go on to improve their language. So it's back to school, really effectively. Wasn't it? So you did head to Glencolmcille. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. As I say in the book, like Glencolmcille is now it is beautiful. It's my second home, like no question about it. And what I liked about Glen was it wasn't full immersion, because I was getting full immersion anyway, because John and Joe, who were appointed as drivers, they were two fluent speakers, John McLafferty on the Duine, because Joe Duhano Maharorty. And they they provided me with full immersion in the car. So when I went to Glencolmkill, it was a mixture. You could still have a bit of you could still have fun. You could still have the crack. You could still find out about the language through the medium of Béarla, and it was just a beautiful place. And people from Liverpool and Montreal and all over the world, they were sitting in the same class, and they were all fluent Irish speakers, and you were starting to question, well, what's wrong here? Why am I not able to do this? I'm an Irishman. Why can't I speak? But the thing about it that I learned very quickly, even the people that had no Irish throughout the county, not just Glencolmkill, everybody had an equal passion and desire for all things Irish and all things culture. Even
before you went there, sorry, I meant to ask, did you even have basic conversational Irish? If you bumped into someone in Carragart, like could you had a 3 or 4 minute conversation?
Well, it's funny, I was reflecting on that even recently, and I didn't put it into the book. I remember the Irish I used. So if somebody came up to me, usually people would ask, out of politeness, and will Gaelic ugant. And that question was put to me for all my time in politics, and I would answer in Irish, and my answer was to Brón Orm, which the sorrow was on me, to Brón Orm, Níl me able to Lord Gaelic. So I used Irish to say I couldn't speak Irish, and it was the embarrassment. And I see it in people now who are starting on the journey. They get to the second sentence and they hit a wall because they're reaching out for an English word to convert to Irish. And I think that's a fundamental mistake that I was making then. I was putting pressure on me, and I should have used a couple of lines and thrown in the, in Gidorial here, who and shop here, my bicycle, so, you'll hear the odd English word thrown in.
Okay. Are you ever too old to learn Irish, do you think?
Niall to Rivra Wall. You're never too old. I got a lovely message from John Wilson, originally from Gidor, lived in Australia all his life. And he sent me a lovely email about 2 days after the job saying, it's never too late. Agus Dúirt John, Hossie Meg, Afolum, and Blaine Shoehart. He said, I started relearning last year. Agus V. John, Keta score Blaine Adisha Ganamshan. He was 80 at that stage. He's 10 years older now from back then, and I'm assuming John's still alive and well in Australia.
So after the initial shock of it, the self-doubt, the reinforced self-doubt with the chanting, and of course the public backlash, which people are far more exposed to now than would have been in the past because it's in your pocket if you care to look at it, right? So at that point, this was a personal challenge in the public eye.
Yeah. Was
that, once you got to Glencolmkill though, did you still feel that pressure, or had that passed at this stage and you just had a job to do?
No, Glencolmkill was ideal because on the one hand it was in the summer, so the Dáil was in recess, but I still had to do the day-to-day job as a TD. So say in the evening times in Glencolmkill when the class was over, we were going to meet groups in Ardra, meet groups in Kilcar, meet groups in Killybegs. So in that area. And what happened was anybody with even a small degree of Irish, medium degree of Irish, Rudbig Master to fluent there, they were all speaking to me in Irish. So I got a sense very, very quickly that there was an enthusiasm and an energy there where people, it's the mehel, it's a typical Irish reaction. When somebody's in bother, somebody needs help, they'll help you out, and that was there.
Did you wobble at all though?
Oh, I wobbled all over the place, Greg. If anybody Googles TG Cahara, my first Agalav or TG Cahara, it was a car crash. I can't. What I did there, I did what I learned in secondary school. I tried to rote learn my answers.
Yeah, I get you.
And I kept repeating the same answer, and I wasn't even able to say it properly. So it was a car crash.
You probably just said, "Give me 3 weeks." Rather than, but again, you tried though, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. So you moved along very, very quickly, and I think the book will be I haven't had an opportunity to read it yet. A fascinating insight into just political stories there, right? Yeah. But also to about us starting stuff and then saying, well, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Or giving it once and never ever trying again. That could be going to the gym. It could be, whatever it could be. Do you know what I mean? So you think people might see quite a bit of themselves in this book, be it about the Irish language or not?
Yeah, I go into that a bit I suppose because I'm doing a master's at the moment in lifestyle medicine and lifestyle coaching. So, in order to, do that course properly, I have to build a health plan. So I'm very much reflecting on what I did with the Irish language. And one of the big things, learn the language, learn more about history, learn more about the culture. You meet new people. By doing something different, you're going to get into a different network. You meet new people. And over the last 10 years, I can point to people all over the country, all over the world, that I've made friendships out of this journey. And even now, outside of politics, I'm part of a Splashers and Dashers group in Downings where we go swimming. Aegis or whatever, but we're loving. We're actually well, you'd say Tashir Murrah is off his head.
It's fantastic.
But I'm taking my leadership. Taking my leadership from deep sea swimming from a lot of the women's group. I think there's 40 plus women.
There's
in
astonishing
Point
community
and
of people that go out swimming. I wish we don't have a ton of time, but we'll probably talk into the future, right? Because we speak about knowing the Irish version of an English word.
Yeah.
Or having learned the English word of an Irish word, right? Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily talk to the language. It's a living thing, right? It's a living thing. It's about our culture. It's intertwined. It's it is who we is.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, I'm among them, would love to be able to speak the language. I think if you could do that there, and everyone who wanted to be able to be conversational Irish could, the percentage would quadruple. Do you know what I mean? I think the majority of people would. What did you learn about sort of the language beyond it's just being orated?
Yeah. I suppose it is so deep, as you pointed out, that connection. Like one of the things that the language journey that I've been on has brought me back. I mean, I've reflected now on my time in primary school, and I see now what the primary school teachers were trying to do. They were, for example, the late Mrs. Teresa Coyle, she was singing Badge and Elamy, she was singing all these songs as Gaeilge, and it was something we were interested in, and something we liked. But teachers' hands at times are tied behind their backs because we're out in the playground, we're speaking English. We go home, we're speaking English. We go playing sport, we're speaking English. So to really, really immerse yourself in the language, there has to be a mindset shift where you get up in the morning, Greg, and you're going to be driving your car to work. And what better place? You've actually got a classroom in front of you, road signs. And before my Irish language journey, I wasn't looking at the Gaelic on the road sign. So you pick out a road sign, you think, God, I wonder what does that mean? You get to work or you get a break and you go home that evening, you go on to Loganion, and what does this place name mean? So even to something that, gets your curiosity.
Daisy chains into something else.
That's exactly.
All right. The book is being launched now. Sorry, one other question I want to ask you.
Sure.
Obviously, with your background in education and also now this journey that you've been through, how far are we from, teaching Irish correctly, do you think, in the school system?
Well, look, I think I'm not a believer in designing new wheels where there's no need for one.
Yeah.
We have the perfect solution now to the future of the Irish language in our Gaeltacht schools, where they've got the schema hantas and the Gaeilge. They're looking at they're doing full immersion, and even the weaker schools in the Gaeltacht. So that there is an opportunity to look at how that scheme is working and look at our preschools. You look at a kid 3 years of age, 2-3 years of age, coming up to 4 years of age. If we even get them doing small bits of vocabulary as Gaeilge at preschool, all of a sudden it's normalised.
Yeah.
So it's not a big shift going to primary school that this is a whole new thing. So look, there are examples, there are policy shift areas there. There's a pilot policy I introduced.
But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, is what you're saying.
No, exactly. No, exactly. There's a lot of good stuff happening. But look, there are challenges too.
All right, the official launch is in Dublin tomorrow, Wednesday the 5th. The Carragart launch by Noel Cunningham and emceed by John Breslin. Is he getting paid for that?
I think we're flying him home for that, yeah.
It's on Saturday the 8th in the parish hall. Does it feel a bit more important launching this in the local hall?
That is the launch.
At home?
Yeah, that's the launch as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night in Dublin.
And if you're going to Dublin, he's loving that too. But it's just achieving something and it being sort of recognised at home. There's something particularly important about that.
Yeah, there is. And look, where did I get most of my support? I got it in my own parish. Francie Cullen was my first teacher when I'm back learning Irish. And then, when I go into the chemist in Carrigart or Boyce's in Carrigart, the staff are speaking in Irish. That is the key thing where we have a living language. It's used on a day-to-day basis. And people have to realise too, Greg, when you think about that, when you go into the shop, when you're speaking in English, it's very limited engagement. It's a good day the day.
Yeah,
God, it's a bad day yesterday.
You're passing the time of day. Really,
Draw Hampshire and you, fish draw Hampshire and you, but Beijo Gavish and far tomorrow. Hopefully it's better tomorrow. So, the simple way, Kajirma Tatu, Tamagamai and Molahan Roder Doi, yeah, everything's good. Just a simple wee connecting words. And my message to people is, don't fall into the trap that I fell into for 25 years. Don't feel embarrassed when you're not able to reply. If you're not able to reply,
it's grand.
Today you'll be able to reply tomorrow.
And again, too, we often put our own barriers up in front of us because we say we can't do something. We are often our greatest enemies in trying to do something we want to achieve. Yeah. All right, brilliant stuff. Very good luck with it. The launch tomorrow in Dublin, and also then on Saturday the 8th in the Parish Hall in Carrigart. Noel Cunningham will be there, and MC John Breslin will be there as well. What time is that at?
That's 7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Both of them at 7 p.m.
Can I just say as well, Greg, we're doing a book signing. The Doherty's Super Value in Carndona very kindly facilitated a book signing on Thursday the 13th, which is next Thursday.
Yes.
And Bookmark and Letterkenny, both are at 12:30. Bookmark and Letterkenny on Saturday the 15th.
Brilliant stuff. All right, well done. Thank you so much, Joe. We'll be back with some live music actually after the break.
Heading off on holiday? Don't forget to park to relax. Travelling for business? Well, then just park to work. Flying for a city break? Simply park to explore. No matter where you're going, you'll find safe, secure shuttle parking just 6 minutes from the airport at Dublin's newest airport car park, Park 2 Travel. Visit parktotravel.ie now to book your space from March 10th, and then simply park to go. Parktotravel.ie. For when you need to park to, well, travel.
The Spiritual Hunger and Artistic Soul Retreat, led by Kate Hennessy, granddaughter of Dorothy Day, will run from the 14th to the 16th of February at Ard's Friary. Explore your spiritual voice through painting, drawing and writing in a reflective, intimate setting. Inquiries and bookings to info@ardsfriary.ie.
iMotors are now carrying the largest range of pre-owned cars in the Northwest.
Don't settle for just any car. Choose the one that suits your style and budget.
Visit imotors.ie to explore our extensive range with 20 plus brands to choose from and find your next car today.
Or call into our showroom in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer. 25 kg bags, buy 10, get 1 free. And €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Or contact your farm commercial specialist. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's a power drill in Portlaoise or guttering in Galway, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
Highland Radio weather updates with the McElhennys. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So, the weather forecast today will start off wet. That's cleared us now at this stage, south easterly. So today is going to be sunshine and showers with some heavy, with hail possible. Highest temperatures 6 to 8 degrees in fresh southerly winds becoming moderate to fresh gusty southwesterly. Now, I have the special consensus in studio with me. Greg Cahill on banjo. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Greg.
We have Dan I love your name.
I know.
We've got Dan Eubanks on bass. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you with us. And another Greg Blake on guitar.
Hey, Greg.
We're taking over, bro.
We're Gregging everybody here.
And Brian McCarthy's on mandolin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. Right, okay, so you were in our draw for the Bluegrass. I really wanted to I want to go to that at some stage. Greg, how was it? How was it playing out in our draw?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Every time we've been there at a very festive atmosphere. The crowd is always great, and we were very fortunate because Tim O'Brien had played the night before in town, so he and Jan came out and played with us, did a few songs. We just had a great time.
And Greg, this is a very special year, remarkably. You've been at this for half a century. That's something else, isn't it?
Oh, especially when you say half a century, I get scared.
Or 50 years.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's you've got some stories.
Oh, yeah. And I've been very fortunate.
Some that you could say in the radio, maybe the odd one you couldn't.
Right. I've been very fortunate. Had some great musicians and people in the band, and love playing with these guys. I think we're
and did you start touring with the Special Consensus 50 years ago, or has it been in different forms under your stewardship?
No, it's always been Special Consensus, and as the name and the recordings, and we just had some personnel. Probably been maybe 52 people in the band over the 50 years, which isn't that bad a record, really.
Yeah. And IBMA awards, Grammy nominations, all of that along the journey too.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, really.
Yeah. Brian, you're relatively new to the setup as well. But I mean, obviously, you're a very accomplished musician. You fit in like a hand into a glove.
I'm trying to. Maybe a bigger hand.
Well, you know what? Well, let's hear how you fit in.
Yeah.
Are you doing one or two for us?
We could do two.
Right, okay, we'll do
time.
one. We'll do one, right? We'll come back, have a chat about the upcoming gigs.
Okay.
And then maybe finish out with one, if that's all right.
That's great.
All right, this is Greg Cahill, Greg Blake, Dan Eubanks, Brian McCarthy, and this is the Special Consensus.
Came to me, said she knew me, said she known me a long time, and she spoke of being in love with every mountain she climbed, and she talked of trails she walked up far above the timberline. From that night on I knew I'd write songs with Carolina in the palm. There's a new moon on the 14th, the first quarter, the 21st, and the full moon in the last week brings the fullness to the earth. There's no guesswork in the clockwork of the world's heart or mind. There are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the palm. As the frost grows on the window, as the wood stove smokes and glows. As the fire grows, we can warm our souls, chasing rainbows in the cold. And we'll talk of trails we walked up, far above the timberline. There are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pond.
Brian, you're in. You can feel It's all right.
You made the cut, man.
You're in.
All right.
You're in. Come here. Humans are amazing when you think about it. What we can do. I say we.
Well,
but
you're right.
Well, no, but
it's we.
I mean, it's unbelievable, Greg. 4 instruments like that, Greg Cahill, and to create such a sound and such energy. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Art.
It truly is, and I think the special thing about bluegrass music is most of us try to just keep the acoustic sound of the instruments blending in the voices, and it's something we could sit in a room and do, or stand in a park. And
it's the relationship between the instruments. They're completely harmonious until such time as you step out and focus on one particular instrument. It's by choice, isn't it?
That's a great observation.
Up until that point, it's just. It's just a sound, a beautiful sound. Right, okay, so the lads are in the Regional Cultural Centre in Letterkenny on Friday the 7th of February. Talk to me about the gig, Greg.
Yeah, we've been there before and had a wonderful time. The sound is always good, and we're very accessible. We enjoy actually talking to folks on an intermission, and we'll have some of our CDs with us there, and it's just a nice, as a great friend of ours once said, it's just nice being in the room with everybody,
Yeah, for sure. And you see that with a lot of the amazing musicians we have around here. Yeah, they're gigging, right? But if they go to for a couple of drinks on a Sunday evening and they're not gigging, the first thing they'll often whip out is the guitar, isn't it? And just have a sing song. It's just a language that they love to speak.
I think it is, and it's something that we all, it's just sort of ingrained, It's sort of, I think you never retire, really, because what would you do? You would sit and play music.
It's like tailoring, and it's like farming. You never retire from those things as long as you can do them, and I'm sure there are other examples of that as well. This is the 50th year of the Special Consensus. Greg, Dan, Greg, Blake, and Brian. They're after finishing a wonderful number of sets in our draw, and now they're performing at the Regional Cultural Centre again on Friday the 7th of February. It's a special year. It's the 50th anniversary tour under the leadership of the aforementioned Greg Cahill. And we're going to play out, I think, with Don't You Try to Change My Mind?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, lads, or are you happy enough? It's great to have you here, by the way.
We really appreciate you letting us come by and play some songs.
It's a genuine treat. I'm not just saying that. Okay, whenever you're ready, boys.
Alrighty.
Thanks so much.
Darling, can't you hear that whistle blow? Can't you hear the highway whine? I'm believing in the morning. Don't you try to change my mind. Outside the rain is softly falling, raindrops falling one by one. Can't you hear the highway calling? In the morning I'll be gone. Darling, can't you hear that whistle blowing? Can't you hear the highway whine? I'm believing in the morning. Don't you try to change my mind. Stars so many you can't count 'em. Moonlight shows me where to go. Up o'er the top of the sunny mountain and through the valleys down below. Darling, can't you hear that whistle blow? Can't you hear the highway whine? my mind. Can't you hear the highway whine? I'll be leaving in the morning. Don't you try to change my mind. Don't you try to change my mind. Darling, don't you try to change my mind.
Well done, lads. On the night, you do that thing where you show off for a bit, like, you show off, yeah? I'd almost turn up for that alone. I'd turn up for that alone. Okay, brilliant stuff. All right, that's the special consensus. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you for having us, Greg.
No, it's been fantastic. They are Greg Cahill on banjo, Dan Eubanks on his bass, Greg Blake on guitar, and Brian McCarthy on mandolin, who's in now. He's in. He's not going anywhere. You'll have enjoyed them in our draw. They're now playing Friday night in the Regional Cultural Centre. That's on the 7th of February. Get along there. Great acoustics, a great setting for all types of entertainment, but not least these guys. And it is a special year. It's 50 years on the road, effectively, under the leadership of Greg on the banjo here. They've had IBMA Awards, Grammy Awards, and a new recording out to mark 50 years on the road. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the 9 till noon show today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Have a fantastic